evening, everyone. Welcome to our February 8th, 2022 City Council meeting. In the interest of government transparency with regards to deliberations and decisions made by the City Council and according to open meeting law, this meeting was posted as a Zoom meeting. This meeting is recorded by video and audio and will be conducted by remote participation. Additionally, all votes taken by the City Council during this and future remote meetings will be by roll call vote. If you're calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you're watching on a computer or device, there's a raised hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during oral communications to be recognized to speak. I'd like to do introduction of the councilors that are on the call tonight. First of all, I'll go by the roll call that we're going to do tonight. Councilor Marjota is here. Councilor Memhard, Councilor Nolan. I don't see Councilor O'Hara yet. Councilor O'Neill, I think, is that Councilor O'Neill is here, even though I think she's calling in. Joanne, is that Tracy? Okay, she's calling in. She was having problems with her audio. Councilor Worthley.
Good evening.
Councilor Gilman, me. Councilor Gross. And Councilor Grow.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Can we bring the mayor in on as a panelist? I think he just indicated that he's around.
Oh, that's great. Joanne, would you accept the mayor as a panelist? That would be great. And we have some members of city staff in addition to Mayor Berger. We have Chief Conley, our police chief. We have Adam. Where did Adam go? He was on Adam Scott from the fire department. We have Bob Ryan, who chairs our traffic commission. We have Jill Cahill, who is our CAO. And now, and we have Ken Costa, who is our auditor. So I think that's it for members of city staff. And we, of course, Joanne Sinos, our city clerk. How could I forget you? Joanne,
I just want to tell you, Adam Scott is not from the fire department. He is the applicant, representing the applicant on the flammable public hearing.
Thank you. Thanks, Adam, for being here. Thanks, Joanne, for the correction. So without objection, I would like to take up public hearing 2021-001 or 2022-001, RZ 2021-004, Concord Street, number 44, route number 44R and 44, map 229, lot 2, from residential 20 zoning, low medium residential to extensive business. And Madam Clerk, I'd ask that you please read the letter that you've received today from Attorney Nestor, who is representing the applicant, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, I'm going to minimize my screen so I can read it.
Okay, thank you. You muted, Joanne. Thank you.
City President Gilman, as a result of the recommendations of both the planning board as well as the P&D committee, my clients have elected to proceed forward with their application to rezone their property from R20 to extensive business. They therefore request that this application be withdrawn without prejudice, either prior to tonight's city council meeting or before said meeting. As such, my clients will not be present at the city council meeting, at the city council hearing tonight. Their intention is to continue to mitigate and correct the issues raised by the building inspector and to look at the concerns raised by some of the abutters during both the site visit and prior hearings. My clients have always striven to be good neighbors, and they want to continue in the same vein moving forward. I thank you in advance for your attention to this matter. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Attorney Mark Nestor.
Thank you, Joanne. So on that note, I'd like to move to accept the withdrawal without prejudice for RZ 2021-004.
Second.
I hear a second. I think it was from Council Nolan. Yes? Okay. Is there a discussion? Okay, let's do a roll call vote in order. Councilor Majota,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan,
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara, who's now here.
Yes.
Councilor
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman, yes. Councilor Gross,
Yes.
and Councilor Grow.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Oral communications.
You're on mute, Counselor.
Next order of business is oral communications.
Thank you. The public shall have the opportunity at every regularly scheduled meeting to be heard under oral communications on matters not appearing on the agenda. Oral communications shall allow any resident who has a request or complaint of any nature relative to city business to appear before the council, state their problem without debate, and the matter shall be referred to the proper agency through the office of the mayor. The resident will be notified within a 2-week period relative to the disposition of same, and a copy shall be forwarded to the city council. Persons speaking under oral communications shall be limited to 3 minutes each. Councilor Majota will be doing the timing tonight, and he'll notify you when the 3 minutes is almost up. The council president shall not allow complaints as to individual performance. So is there anyone on the call that would like to speak for any matters that are not on the agenda? Okay, let's see, we have 37 attendees, and I see Brenda Malloy has her hand up. Our city clerk, will you make me a co-host so I can help you pull people in? Okay, Brenda, are you here? Would you announce your name and your address and
Yes.
to our council? Welcome.
Brenda Malloy, 43 Rocky Neck Ave. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I just wanted to follow up on a written communication I sent to the councilors and the clerk today, requesting for you all to please seriously consider putting off the vote that's scheduled to perhaps happen at the meeting on February 22nd regarding the new zoning changes, because I'm out of state, so I'm not even in town, and I'm hearing from people that are expressing concern that they're just hearing about this, and they're calling me to ask about it. And I said, you know, I don't know that much about it, but it just sounds like there's a lot of people that are just learning that this is a hot issue. And I appreciate that the counselors have been having ward meetings. I think that's wonderful. I'll be attending one Thursday night. But I just think that there may be more time necessary for the citizens to really be aware that A, that this meeting is coming up, and B, to really become informed what this actually means. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brenda. Are there any further folks that would like to speak in public comments to the council for up to 3 minutes for matters not on the agenda? And I will just note that this matter of our zoning is in front of the council right now. So anyone else like to speak in public comments? I have Linda McHarriston. Linda, would you introduce yourself and your address and speak to us for up to 3 minutes for anything not on the agenda? Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Gilman, thank you. I'm not certain what you just said regarding whether or not we could speak on something not on the agenda, but which is in fact coming up, and that is the vote on the amendment changes.
Yeah, so Linda, in fairness, I'll let you speak for a minute on that if it's without objection from the city council, but that matter is in front of us right now. But where I allowed Brenda Malloy to speak, And I don't see a lot of hands right now. I'll let you speak to that without objection, counselors. So go ahead.
Thank you so much. Councilor Gilman, President Gilman, I just want to remind you of that day last November when I called you or sent you a note talking to you about this executive order from the governor on the zoning act. And you had not even seen it. I had a bunch of paperwork here and that I was concerned about. And I called you and you had not even seen it. And you came down to my house and took my stuff home and Xeroxed it. And you were more than a little annoyed that you hadn't gotten any of this information from inside the government, inside planning. And I bring that up because everyone's delayed. I think this whole thing has come down very suddenly on purpose. We have no rule and our zoning ordinances may not be touched by the state. So Governor Baker, did all this maneuvering around it in this piece. And and especially amending the number, the supermajority. If any of these desired outcomes were to come up, and we have been given the planning board's amendments as if this were entirely organic to the city and its needs, and they've talked about it that way. But we now know that it's entirely organic to this zoning act and the municipal area production council. And this makes it far more complicated. And we realize the relationship between passing certain of these amendments and then the possibility of the ease with which the state can pass the transit or overlay district, adding 2,270 new units of family housing around railroad stations. And people know bits and pieces of this. Even some of you guys, I think, don't have all of it.
Point of order.
So what I'm saying is delay.
Point of order.
State your point, Councilor Grow.
The 3 minutes is terminated.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't hear the buzzer. Linda, thank you. Thank you for speaking and hope to see you at the ward meeting tomorrow night.
You will.
Any other folks like to speak in public comments? I see Hillary Fry. Hillary, state your name and I know that you were on the call last night. Just remember that the matter of the zoning amendments are in front of us right now. So if you speak, please keep it very brief. Hillary, can you come in? I saw your hand and now I don't see you. Her hand is down. So, okay. I see right now. Oh, Hillary's hand is up and I will promote you to a panelist.
Okay, unmute. Okay, can you hear me now?
I can. Would you, your name and address?
Hillary Fry, 27 Beacon Street. And I just want to support the previous two speakers, Brenda and Linda. I think we're rushing into this. I think we're unprepared and I think we are in the crosshairs of Boston development. They've got housing shortage and they're looking at us as their solution. And I think we ought to stand firm in our community and protect our zoning codes. So that was brief. Thank you.
Thank you, Hillary. I appreciate that. Next hand that's raised is former Council President Steve LeBlanc. Let's see, promote to panelists. Welcome, Steve. I don't see him coming in, Joanne. Okay, let's try the next hand that's raised. Kelly Seacrest. Wait, hold on a sec, Kelly. Let's hear from former council president Steve LeBlanc. Steve, cite your name and address for the
Steve
record.
LeBlanc, 9 Carlisle Street. Thank you, Val. I just wanted to go over something procedural with the council. It's not a voting matter on the council agenda this evening, so residents should be able to speak on this. I just wanted to put that past you because people get on the line and they want to be heard. And when we go to the subcommittees, we really don't allow people to talk because it's not a public hearing. So in past practice, what we've done, if it's on the agenda, I mean, if it's not a voting matter on the agenda, you should be able to talk about it at oral communications. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person that would like to speak is Kelly Seacrest. Kelly, name and address, please, for the record.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, sorry, it kicked me off and asked me to get back on. Okay, so under chapter 358 of the Acts of 2020, it's sometimes referred to as the Economic Legislation of 2020, or also known as the Zoning Act. Among the amendments are changes to section 5 of the Zoning Act, which reduced the number of votes required to enact certain kinds of zoning ordinances and bylaws of the supermajority to a simple majority, and changes section 9 of the Zoning Act, making similar changes to the voting thresholds for the issuance of certain kinds of special permits. I would like it if the council could explain that to the public on how this is, or whether it is not, because some people don't think it is and some people do. How is it going to change the way that you vote on all issues going forward from now on?
Okay, thank you, Kelly. And just for the councilors' information, right now our city clerk is working with our legal department on going through that. Councilor Nolan.
I didn't get the name and address on that. It was very blurred.
Oh, it's Kelly Seacrest. And
9 White's Mountain Road.
9 Weiss Mountain Road.
White's Mountain Road.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Thanks.
Kelly. I see Patty Page. I'll promote her to a panelist. Go ahead, Patty. Name and address for the record. I've promoted you to a panelist and I don't see you on the screen.
Hi, Val, do you hear me now?
I do. Name and address. Thank you, Patty.
I'm sorry. The prior speaker was right. It kicks you out and then you go on. This is an unusual Zoom connection tonight. But Patty Page, 3 Tidal Cove Way. And I did attend the Frank's Ward meeting last night, so thank you, Frank. And I would like to express my concern for the Ward 2s and Ward 3s down there, regardless of the 9 zoning amendments, which I appreciate Steve LeBlanc clarifying that for us. Motion 2, which brings in multifamily by right in R5, 3 families. It's not just a 2. Motion 7 brings in 45-foot by right in the downtown business districts and in those three districts, CCD, CB, and VB. Motion 5 is 35 feet by right. And those 3 motions in particular are the underpinning, the linchpin for the qualification for the city to go forward in the state MBTA TOD zoning overlay. So I'd like to express my concern with those 3 motions, 2, 5, and 7. I would encourage the councilors not to vote those in by right. Motion 7 in particular, once you bring that height in the 3 districts up to 45 feet by right, the MBTA TOD will then allow you with a special permit to go to 60 feet. Those are 5-story buildings in all of our 5 districts. in downtown, not across the city, but in the downtown specific TOD district. People are concerned about these new zoning changes, these laws. I would request that the mayor not forward our application for compliance. There's no need to do that. We have a choice. This is not mandated. It is a voluntary choice for communities, municipalities to either engage or not. I understand there are some strong language in these in this emergency declaration that state we won't get some funding, that it's Mass Works grant funding, and it's also housing production funding, which only applies to these housing developments. So the kind of funding that we're risking isn't going to affect other things in our community.
3 minutes.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank
Your
you.
time is up.
Oh,
Appreciate you
Thank you
speaking.
very much. Please look at these carefully for us. Thank you.
Next, we have Sue.
Council President?
Yep.
Can I be allowed to bring the panelists in, the participants? Because when you bring them in as panelists. I bring them in as attendees and I can remove them. Once you bring them in as panelists, they can't be removed.
Thank you. Please do that. I appreciate it, Joanne.
And it's also kicking us out.
I don't care. I'll stay on as a panelist if you want.
Yeah, I have no control about them kicking you out, so.
Now we're out of control, Joanne.
Patty?
Did you bring Sue in, Joanne? Okay. So would you introduce yourself and your address, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak to City Council. I don't hear Sue, so let's try Pamela Steele. Pamela, would you introduce yourself? Joanne, would you bring her in?
She's in.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
PM Steele, 10 Pilots Hill. This is all a data-driven world now. And if this is
Phone is needs to be muted if you're not speaking. That would be great.
Oh, I thought that was me. And in a data-driven world, if it were a business, excuse me, that was going on to take a project, they would have data. I would request that we get data, something in writing about our water situation. All these houses, that seems to come up a lot. And in order to really get a picture of what this zoning change, how it could impact the water structure, that would be great. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Pamela.
Yep.
Next with a hand raise is Sylvie Lakarova. Madam Clerk, if you would bring her in, that would be great.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, would you introduce yourself and your address?
Hi, yes, thank you. So Sylvie Corey, 28 Pine Street. So I am opposing the 9 amendments, and I'm very concerned about the high density, the possible high density of housing, and basically changing the whole city infrastructure, including water and all like road capacity and sewer. And I'm concerned about safety. It's pretty difficult to where I live to find any parking space also. So this is also a concern, not only now in the winter, but also in the summer. And I know that it would highly affect the quality of life. So we would get a dense, maybe it would double on the city capacity of of the citizens, and the quality of life would be affected. I was born and raised in a communist country, and this housing was built, and the whole city parts became pretty densely ugly, very, very unpleasant places to live. And I just don't think that this is worth it. So I would like to also propose if MBTA taught as allowing more of a public involvement. So
Thank you,
that's pretty much
Colleen.
it. Thank you.
And the last hand that's raised is Sarah Del Rio. Madam Clerk, would you bring Sarah in, and would you introduce yourself, Sarah, in your address?
Unmute. Okay, so my name is Sarah Castle Del Rio. I live at 9 Crowell Ave, Ward 5. I have 3 perspectives from which to comment on the proposed changes. I've been an architect for over 40 years and have done a lot of work in Gloucester, including 2-family and multifamily projects. I served on the Affordable Housing Committee in Hamilton, Mass. Excuse me. My husband and I were in the real estate market in Gloucester looking to downsize to something affordable 4 years ago. My take is that these changes will produce more high-end housing, not affordable housing. Developers and homeowners are not risking their investment to provide affordable housing. They will logically maximize their investment. Existing homeowners' rights will be infringed upon and their home values diminished with the increase of density and height these changes propose. This happened to us with a road project that bypassed zoning with a dubious legal loophole. These changes will alter the character of the city, infringe on homeowners' rights. If affordable housing is the goal, there should be a master plan for achieving that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. We have Olympia Palazzola. Would you bring her in? I think this is the last person, so thank you.
Olympia Palazzola, 57 Western Avenue. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Oh, good. Okay. I was on again last night, and everything that everyone said today was basically from the last meeting, it seemed, and they did a great job last night. I know these people have worked on this for like 4 years, they've said, but I was involved with the housing committee at one point, sat for meetings all the time to produce affordable housing in Gloucester. And to be truthful, I go to Florida for 6 months, so I may be missing out on a lot of things that come up that I don't realize. But usually there's a few things in the newspaper that come up that say that the planning board is having a public meeting to talk to the people. And they said that they did. So I may have missed it, but I wish that a lot of people really knew about those meetings that were happening, especially if they were public meetings, to hear the input then, than to have it come to you guys right now and have a vote. I agree. There's so many developers coming in that can afford lots of money, millions of dollars, and it's driving our people out of Gloucester. And it's really hard for us to have affordable housing for own families. So, but my hope is that if this is going to go through, something is put in there that says this is going to be for our families to use, our aging parents or whatever, but I don't think you can do that. And that's what scares me about the whole process of what's happening right now. So if it's, if you can stop it from being someone selling that house after they get, go through the 2-family and not using it for themselves, that it doesn't turn into a neighborhood where you've got a 500, and I say 500, which is the cheapest houses in Gloucester. You have a $500,000 home right now, and a developer comes in, buys it, and puts $2 million properties on that same footprint. So it happens all over Gloucester. So that's my concern. I wish they would go back to the drawing board, let the public go into their meetings and discuss more to keep it affordable, because I can't understand how this can be affordable. And one other question I have is that everyone that pulls a permit to make a 2-family, if they're legal, if they have the parking or whatever, it has to go to the building inspector, I would think. But there's no way if it's legal, he doesn't go around telling the neighborhood, does he at this point? See, that's another issue because people are all concerned about their parking space and everything. So there's a lot with this. Thank you. Bye now.
Thank you. And counselors, since we have 5 new counselors on this, there is a way that if you don't agree with a decision that I've made, you can appeal the ruling of the chair. And with a majority vote, you can overrule me. So I want you to know that because I'm a little conflicted right now because we do have a public hearing scheduled. We are in the middle of ward meetings and I'm not necessarily sure that I agree with former Councilor LeBlanc's recommendation here. But you do have the right to do that and the hands just keep coming up. So Councilor Grow, do you have anything? Your hand is up.
It is. I actually agree with Councillor LeBlanc. We've always, in my experience in past history, is that if the item is not on the agenda tonight for consideration, that it's fair game, and so we just let people say what they have to say.
Okay. Anyone else disagree or Councilor O'Neill, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with, am I mute? No, I agree with Jason. I think these people should speak.
Great. Okay, thank you. All right, so let's proceed. We have Janine Harris with her hand up. Janine, would you introduce yourself and your address? Thank you. Joanne, could you bring Janine Harris in?
I'm sorry, didn't realize my hand was up.
Oh, okay.
So that was just that was a bloop on my side.
Okay, nice to see you for a second or hear your voice. I don't see any more hands up, so thank you all for speaking. And oh, there is a new hand up. It's Jera, G-E-R-A. Would you bring her in, Joanne? And Jera, would you introduce yourself and your full name and your address? Thank you.
Well, I'm from Rockport, so I don't know if I'm welcome to speak.
It's our public comments right now at the beginning of the meeting are for residents. If you wish to send your opinions into us, you can certainly send them in an email to our city clerk and she will disperse them to us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other hands? Seeing none, would you please call for the next order of business, Madam Clerk?
The next order of business is the confirmation of new appointments.
Great, so I would like to turn control of the meeting over to our O&A Chair, Councilor Nolan, to introduce our 9 new appointments. Thank you. Councilor, you're muted.
I have a paper issue because I got like 3 president motion templates and I didn't bring the actual agenda that I can find. So I'm going to wing this from the hip. All of the new appointments have been approved, 3 in favor, 0 opposed. I'd like to start with Joel Favaza. Is Joel available tonight for any questions?
Joel's hand is raised.
Good evening.
How you doing tonight, Joel?
Hi, Joel.
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Does anybody have any questions with Joel? Joel, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Really briefly, let you guys get out of here. My name is Joel Favaza. I live over at 28 Middle Street currently, lifelong Gloucester resident. I was first appointed to the Capital Improvement Advisory Board under Mayor Kirk in 2010. I was reappointed under the previous administration, and my last term actually expired beginning of last calendar year. I was still on the school committee at the time, and it was a bit of an overlap in my available free time, so I had to say goodbye to one. Now that I'm off of the school committee, I have a little bit more room in my schedule again, and I was asked by the administration to consider rejoining. I have the belief that the Capital Improvement Advisory Board can be a very useful tool to both the mayor's administration as well as the city council if and when it is put to work. I'm hopeful that this administration and this council will put us to work. And if you choose to do so, I'll be ready to do that work. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Joel. Is there any questions for Joel Favazza from the council? All right, hearing none. Ordinance Administration voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed to appoint to the Capital Improvements Advisory Board Joel Favazza, term to expire 2/14/25, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion from Council Nolan and a second from Council O'Hara. Is there discussion? Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Councilor Majota,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard,
Yes.
Council Nolan,
Yes.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
Yes.
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes, Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. So next up, we have from the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee, Advisory Board, John McCarthy. John, how are you doing tonight? Can you hear us, John?
John's hand is up. Joanne, could you bring him in?
There we go. Can you hear me now, Sean?
Yes, I can. How are you doing tonight? And how's that cold weather down Florida?
Terrible. Doing good.
John, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to be on the committee tonight?
Sure. As everybody probably knows, I'm a longtime city employee, retired 3 years ago and spent the last 2 years on the city council as a member of budget and finance. Many things came across budget and finance that led me to believe that this was an important board. It had kind of become neglected in new administration, wants to put this board back to full capacity. And I think it's a great thing for the city. I think the city needs a plan going forward, and I think this board can put together long-range plans if used correctly, and I'm confident that it will be. So I put in an application to be on this board, and I would thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, John. We're honored to have you. Is there any questions for John McCarthy on the Capital Improvement Advisory Board from councilors? Council Worthley.
Yes, as John knows, I'll never have a question about John McCarthy's ability to be helpful to us and his commitment to the city. I do have a question. It's a general question about the board, and I'm not sure if this is the right place to ask it, but I'm going to ask it and see if it's answerable. We've learned tonight and other times that this Capital Improvement Advisory Board has not been functioning for some period of time. Can we get a sense as to how many people are on there? Are there vacancies? If the mayor is looking for more people, can we reach out to our constituents and let that message be delivered? I just want to get a sense as to where it stands. It's a very important committee.
I see Jill Cahill popped in as our CAO. Jill, do you want to do a quick update of that particular board? I know that you and Mayor Verga have really been looking at all the boards and commissions closely.
I'd be happy to, but I do see the mayor's hand up. So if he wants to field this, I will defer to him.
Okay, Mayor Verga.
Sure, thank you. The board began with 3 vacancies, meaning when I took office, there were 3 vacancies. We have 2 people on for tonight. Since then, 4 of the original members, of the 4 original members, 2 more have decided to step away. So we're still behind the 8 ball here. So by adding these 2 tonight, we'll be back to 4 members, but we're still on the lookout for 3 more. I've been aggressively recruiting, but I sort of would put the word out to you folks now. If you know somebody who might be a good fit, have them send a letter of interest through the mayor's office. But we do plan on utilizing this board. We want to empower them to do what they're supposed to be doing. And we have a lot of capital needs that should be flowing through them for advice as an advisory board.
Great, thank you, Mayor.
Mayor Verga.
Continue.
Excellent. Any other questions for John McCarthy? All right, hearing none. The Ordinance Administration voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed to appoint John McCarthy to the Capital Improvements Advisory Board, term to expire 2/14/25, and I so move.
Second.
A motion by Council Nolan, seconded by Council O'Hara. Is there a discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Council Majota,
Yes.
Council Memard,
Yes.
Council Nolan,
Yes.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
Yes.
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, absolutely. Council Gross. Council Gross. Tony, do you hear us? I think Tony is up.
Yeah.
Council
I'm
Gross.
back. Yes.
Thank you. And Council Grow.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Congratulations, Chief. Continue, Counselor. Thank you.
All right, so next on the Conservation Commission, we have Robert Sherman. Robert Sherman, are you with us tonight?
Joanne, his hand is raised.
I don't, here we go.
There we go.
Good evening, folks. Can
How
you
you
hear me?
doing, Robert? If you could
I'm
just
doing
tell
well,
us
thank you.
about yourself and why you'd like to be on the Conservation Commission.
All right, I'm a longtime resident of Gloucester and Cape Ann. I previously served on the Conservation Commission, but my work schedule at the time, I was working as a park ranger and still work as a park ranger for the state, for the Department of Conservation and Recreation. But at the time, I was working a lot of evenings, and our meetings back then were, as you know, in person, and I hope we get to return to those. But my schedule has changed some, and I knew that there was a vacancy, and I would feel privileged to get back on the conservation and serve the city.
Excellent. We're lucky to have you. Is there any questions from any councilors for Robert? All right, hearing none. The Ordinance and Administration Committee voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed to appoint Robert Sherman to the Conservation Commission, term to expire 2/14/25, and I so move.
Second.
Motion made by Council Nolan, seconded by Council O'Hara. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Council Majota,
Yes.
Council Memard,
Yes, thank you.
Council Nolan,
Absolutely.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
Yes.
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes. Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Welcome.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Robert. So next we have on the Shellfish Advisory Commission, Anthony Morowski. Anthony, how are you doing tonight?
I don't see him on the call.
I don't see Anthony on the call as well. We can move on to the Waterways Board and we'll check back with Anthony. So first on the Waterways Board would be Donna Crocker. Donna, are you available tonight?
Here I am.
Hi, Donna. How you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing? I'm in Steamboat, Colorado, but it's
we've skipped après ski today for city council meeting.
Well, we really appreciate that. Donna, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself to the council and why you think you'd be a good fit for the Waterways Board.
I'm Donna Crocker. I live now currently at 7 Kirk Road on the Mill River. I'm a lifelong sailor and boater. I did attend many Waterways Committees meetings a number of years ago during the prior Harbor Master administration. I really am interested in waterways safety and enforcement of regulations, and I plan on listening for quite some time and going forward, and hopefully can be a good help as a boater and interested in waterways on the committee.
Excellent. Donna, thank you very much. Is there any questions from the council for Donna Crocker?
Council
Tony
Gross. Oh,
Yeah. Hi, Donna. Now you were with the Whalers Point Yacht Club, correct?
I am currently a member of the Whalers Point Yacht Club, and I am the past Commodore of the Whalers Point Yacht Club, yes.
Can I ask, you've been around for a long time. Why is the interest now and not back when, there was a certain amount of dysfunction that we could use help with? Just wondering.
When I was interested in being on the committee, there was no opening. So yeah, that was the biggest issue back then. There were no openings on the Waterways Committee when I was attending the meetings back then.
Well, I don't think there was any openings in recreational boating this time either, but that's besides the point. There was, the annual turnover that happens.
looks like Council Gross has frozen. He came back last time.
Is there any other questions from any of the council? There he is.
Oh, I hate Comcast.
We all do.
Where you missed it. You talked about enforcement and regulations, and the Waterways Board's a whole lot more than that. So I would hope that you would broaden your horizons while you're there.
Well, that's just I'm interested in the city being a really world-class place for boaters to come in and enjoy what we have to offer in Gloucester. That's the number one, that we really have an incredible opportunity and an incredible place for people coming in via water in our city.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Val, would you like to ask if there's any more questions?
You can do that, Councilor. I'll just take care of the motions and the roll call. Go ahead.
Is there any other councilor questions for Donna? Councilor Worthley.
Thank you, and thank you for volunteering, Donna. I look forward to your service. Like the last committee, I wanted to just ask a general question about the makeup of the Waterways Board. I see 3 appointments tonight. Are there 3 vacancies? I don't know if Council President Keelan could answer this, or if maybe Tony Gross could speak to it, or Sean, or the mayor's office, but I just want to get an understanding for us newer councilors who haven't been around for a while, I guess, sense of what the Waterways Board does, and if there are additional vacancies or where things stand with that, if that's okay.
Well, I think that Donna probably is not sure of what the vacancy status is with the committees. We do have a lot of openings, and I do see that Mayor Verger is raising his hand, so maybe he can give you some insight to where we're looking for more help on each committee.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll let Councilor Gross fill in the blanks about the function, the duties, but there were 2 appointees, 2 members who their terms were up, who were not reappointed. We put forward 2 new people, which we have tonight. Tony, as you know, switched over, sort of he and Steve LeBlanc swapping spots. We had a resignation. You haven't seen that one come through O&A yet, but Russell Sherman has resigned from the Waterways Board. So there will be four 4 new people and 2 switch positions. Steve LeBlanc will be coming up later to fulfill the remainder of Tony's former term. So I hope that answered that as far as membership goes.
I'm just a little confused. I see 3 appointments tonight, and I think you said there were 2 vacancies. So I just wanted to clarify that. I have no issues.
No. There were 2 members whose terms ended or will end on the 14th, who were not reappointed.
Right.
I put forward so far 2 new members, which are tonight, Bob Alves and Donna. Tony's was serving as a member. He's now the council rep. Steve LeBlanc was the council rep. He's been appointed to fulfill Tony's term. The 4th member I'm talking about currently is Russell Sherman. He submitted his letter of resignation effective immediately when I received it last week. And there'll be an appointment coming forward for him, I believe, in the next mayor's report, as well as Peter Feinstein's in your consent agenda for tonight.
Right.
Okay.
And if I may, Peter Feinstein, I think we had a long-term vacancy, multi-year vacancy for economic development, Mr. Mayor. So that one I haven't seen where everybody's lined up on what it is, on which positions, but I'm assuming you did have that position.
Yes.
That you need to fill, and I
thank you. Tony raises a good point because there's seats for fishing related, recreational boating, economic development, and at large. Each of these members that I put forward plugs in. Steve LeBlanc, for instance, has a claiming license. The person who'll be coming forward for to fulfill Russell Sherman's term has a commercial lobstering license. Economic development is technically it's Donna, who's got a background in finance, and then I guess the two remaining were recreational, which would be Bob and Peter Feinstein. And I may, if I missed somebody, let me know, but I think I just covered everybody with that.
Thank you, Mayor Verga.
Thank you. I see, go ahead, Sean, it's your.
CAO Jill Cahill.
Hi, thank you. If it pleases the council and to speed things up tonight, I'd be happy to provide the council with an update on all the vacancies and all the positions in the next mayor's report. I think I get to the context of what Councilor Worthley's asking, but we have a long agenda and many members of the public waiting to move through this. So I'm happy to provide that. We also plan to share that with the public as we sort through these appointments. And Councilor Worthley, when it comes to summary of what each of these committees do, please feel free to check out the website. It supplies a definition for each of these. I'm happy we can do it tonight one by one, but also happy to provide that via the mayor's report going forward.
Thank you.
That would be really helpful. Thank you, Jill. Continue, Councilor Nolan.
Jill, thank you very much for that. And the information could be satisfied with the upcoming appointments. We know we have vacancies, and I appreciate the hard work that you guys are doing to fill them with quality people. Is there any other questions for Donna? Alrighty, here and none. Donna, thank you for standing by. The Ordinance Administration Committee voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed to appoint Donna Cocker to the Waterways Board, term to expire 2/14/25, and I so move.
Second.
A motion by Councilor Nolan, seconded by Councilor O'Hara. Is there a discussion? A roll call vote. Councilor Majota,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard,
Yes, and thank you, Donna.
Councilor Nolan,
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman. Yes, thank you, Donna. Councilor Gross,
Yes, thank you.
Councilor Grow.
Yes.
Yeses have it. 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Welcome, Donna.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Good luck tonight.
Thank you, Donna. So next on the Waterways Board is Bob Alves. Bob, are you with us tonight?
Yes, I am.
How you doing, Bob? You can just give us a little bit of brief description about yourself and why you'd like to serve on the committee.
Sure. I'm in my mid 60s. I was 14 years old. I was a dock boy at Bigford's Marina, and I I saw Jack Alexander of Beacon Marine sail by in a Montgomery fish boat. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And 3 weeks later, I owned a Montgomery fish boat. And I've had a boat annually on Gloucester Harbor every year of my life since I was 14 years old. I have a passion for the waterfront. Many consider me maybe a waterfront activist. I've worked with the Waterways Board in regards to the addition of the launch, addition of additional local and transient moorings. Those are kind of the highlights, but I have a real passion for this waterfront, and I think many people know that. So, and I look forward to the possibility of being a member of the Waterways Board.
Thank you, Robert, for being here tonight. Is there any questions from the council for Robert Alves? Councilor Gross.
Yes, thank you, Sean. Bob, I know we served well together on the waterways before. I'd like just the new counselors. Donna, can you please mute?
Hold on just a second. Could you put yourselves on mute if you're not talking right now? Because we have some interference in the background. Thank you.
Bob, you know, we sat together at the Waterways Board before and we did a lot of good work, and you were instrumental in the beginnings of the turnaround of this department to become make Gloucester a world-class harbor that we are today. And it was unfortunate that you didn't get reappointed that all those years ago, but I'm so happy to see you back. I know we butted heads, but both of us actually came out better for it. So, and we forged a great friendship over the years, and I really look forward to being the liaison to serve with you.
I agree. Tony, you got those are big shoes to fill on the Waterways Board, Tony. Congratulations for all your work.
They are size 13.
Hey, can I just say one thing? To the City Council. This summer, I took my boat from Gloucester Harbor down to Nantucket, annually Martha's Vineyard, P-Town, Nantucket, Cuttyhunk, blah, blah, blah. And we were away for about 14 days. And I have to tell you something. When we came around the breakwater wall and we pulled into Gloucester Harbor, it was the most beautiful sight. Out of everywhere we traveled, I thought, my summer vacation down what we call the islands, Gloucester Harbor we're fortunate. It's pristine. It's a great harbor, and as Tony noted, it's moving in the right direction. Absolutely, and I agree with what Donna said, and I look forward to the possibility of working and being a member of this Waterways Board.
Excellent. That's why they call it Bullport.
Exactly.
All right. Is there any other questions for Robert Alves? All right. Hearing none. The Ordinance Administration Committee voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed to appoint Bob Alves to the Waterways Board. Term to expire 2/14/25, and I so move.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Nolan, seconded by Councilor O'Hara. Discussion? Roll call vote. Councilor Majota,
Yes.
Councilor Memard,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan,
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman, yes. Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Grow.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Welcome to the Waterways Board, Bob.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you. So next on the Waterways Board, we have retired Councilor Stephen LeBlanc, who's going to be fulfilling the unexpired term for Tony Gross as Waterways Board. Steve, are you out there tonight?
I am. Can you hear me, Councilor Nolan?
I can. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good. So I'll tell you briefly about myself. As you all know me, I'm a former counselor. I also grew up in a fishing family. My grandfather came over from Sicily with my uncles and aunts and bought a couple of Eastern rigged trawlers, draggers, the Nyanza and the North Star. So I grew up many years fishing on those boats year round. It was a day boat. I also fished on the Connemara Bay in the Pioneer as lobstering. I was a deckhand on the lobster boats for many years. I've held commercial clamming licenses, fishing licenses, lobster licenses, recreational licenses. I'm a certified scuba diver, and I also own a vessel. And as a kid, I had several jet skis, so I was able to patrol and find little excursions throughout the salt marsh my whole life. So I've been on the water my entire life, and I'm looking forward to serving under the Verga administration with Mayor Verga, and helping the Waterways Board for the past several years as the council liaison. I'll be able to jump in with 2 feet and have a huge head start on the newer people that have been appointed this evening.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve LeBlanc. Is there any questions from the council for Steve LeBlanc? Hearing none, I'll just say, Steve, I'm happy that this is working out for you and that you're going to be there. You've been involved with the Waterways Board for a long time, but certainly a strong advocate with them the last 6 years that I've been working with it. And I'm happy to have you. So without any further ado, I'll read a motion. Ordinance Administration voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed to appoint Steve LeBlanc to the Waterways Board, term to expire 2/14/23, and I so move.
Second.
Motion made by Council Nolan, seconded by Council O'Hara. Is there discussion? Roll call vote. Go ahead.
This is Scott speaking.
Yep.
I just want to make sure, Steve, that we get your commitment to make the meetings on a regular basis.
100%, Scott. Thank you.
Okay, bud?
Thank you, Councillor. So let's do a roll call. Councillor Majota,
Absolutely.
Councillor Memard,
Yes, absolutely.
Councillor Nolan,
Absolutely.
Councillor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councillor O'Neill,
Yes.
Councillor Worthley,
Yes.
Councillor Gilman, yes. Councillor Gross,
Yes.
Councillor Grow.
Yes.
Yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Madam Chair, briefly, thank you, councilors. Tony, I know it's gonna be big shoes to fill, but I'm gonna do my damn best to try to fill those shoes, buddy.
I'm gonna
Thank
be
you
right
all.
there looking. I got my eyes on you, buddy.
Thank you.
Size 13.
Yeah, that's right.
Alrighty. So next on the agenda would be the Zoning Board of Appeals, and we'll start with Leonard Gyllenhaal. Leonard, you there?
Unmute me. Yes, I'm here.
How you doing tonight, Leonard? If you just tell us a little bit about yourself and why
Yeah,
you'd like to serve on the zoning board.
before I begin, Rob Russell, who's also up tonight's mother, died yesterday morning. She was 92 years old and a longtime resident of this part of Gloucester, so I'm sure he will not be here tonight. Just wanted to tell you that ahead of time. I did inform the mayor's office. I've owned property here in Gloucester since 1978. It was a summer cottage owned by my wife's family since 1950. And about 15 years ago, I was ready to retire and we tore down the cottage and built a retirement home here. I'm a huge advocate for Gloucester. I did serve on the zoning board for about 5 years. I was appointed by Mayor Kirk and served 2 terms and was not reappointed by the previous administration. I think it's time to go back. I'm really interested in this work. I think there's some huge challenges for Gloucester in maintaining Gloucester as it is. You heard that in the beginning of the meeting when they're talking about the MBTA zoning overlays they're trying to put in. I don't know if that's going to come before the zoning board, but the city is really concerned about this, and I will be an associate, so I'll listen for a few meetings and then I'll speak up. I was on the zoning board when I lived in Pennsylvania. I was actually chairman for 5 years. It was a small community of about 2,000 people with a lot of open space. We met about once a quarter and it was usually about the size of a sign. It's a little more difficult here, a little more controversial, needs a little more work, and I'm willing to do that.
Excellent. Thank you, Leonard. Is there any councilor questions for Leonard tonight? Councilor Grow.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I'd just like you to talk a little bit about since you've had a lot of experience as a zoning board member, planning board member, can you explain your approach when you're dealing with an applicant and what's going through your mind when you look at an application?
First of all, we have to observe the laws, but the Board of Appeals is to cover cases that don't quite fit in with the law. There's some variance or permit change that needs to be made. I tend to favor or listen to neighbors' input, because if you build a home or change a home, you're going to have to live with your neighbors. So I'm very much in favor of the applicant showing their plans to the neighbors, talking to them if there are disagreements, work it out, and if it has to be brought out in public, bring it to the zoning appeals board meeting. I'm also concerned about, I think in the Gloucester Times the other day, they're having some issues over in Rockport like we are here. And they talked about a New England home look. And I'm really in favor of trying to convince people to make their new plans fit in with Gloucester. I mean, there's some beautiful homes near me. They would look great on a beach in California, but they really don't fit here, but it passed the Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm wary about that kind of thing. You cannot legislate taste, but you can try to convince people to maintain Gloucester's original and beautiful look.
But you are aware that we don't have architectural review here in Gloucester.
Yes, I am aware of that, but that doesn't mean you can't talk to people about it.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilor Grow. Is there any other questions for Leonard? All right, hearing none, I'll read the motion. The Ordinance Administration voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed for Leonard Gyllenhaal to be an alternate member to the Zoning Board of Appeals, term to expire 2/14/24, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's made by Sean Nolan and seconded by Jamie O'Hara. Is there a discussion, councilors? Roll
Yes.
call. Oh, go ahead.
I would like to say something, is it Gyllenhaal or Gyllenhaal? I'm sorry.
It's pronounced J.I. Gyllenhaal.
J.I.
It's a Swedish
Gyllenhaal.
name.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
We have some actors in the family you may have heard of.
Yes, absolutely. I just wanted to say, I was very happy to hear you say that you mentioned the TOD overlay and that you like to listen to the neighbors. I am the Ward 2 counselor, so I was very happy to hear that you're on top of that. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So roll call vote, Council Majota,
Yes.
Council Memard,
Yes, and Jason, thank you for that question. That was great. Helpful.
Council Nolan,
Yes, great question, Jason.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
Yeah. Oh. Yes.
thank you, Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes, Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leonard. So next on the Zoning Board of Appeals, we have Rob Russell. We'll call him out to see if he is here. We understand there's a little bit of a family tragedy. He is not here at this point. I do know Rob. It's an alternate member with the will of the council. If you'd like to push us through, or if you'd like to vote to bring him back, I'm almost certain he would be here tonight if it wasn't for the circumstances in his family. Council President, what would you like to do at this point?
I have no problem voting him forward. he's an alternate member, and I think he had a very unfortunate matter. So with your approval, I would feel comfortable moving forward.
Maybe little show of hands, we'll read a motion. Council Grow?
I think that frankly, I feel bad for him and his family. But I think in fairness to all the other applicants that come before the board, that he should also come before the board. I've got a few questions I'd like to ask him. And it's not going to affect his position on as an alternate on the committee. So we put him off till next meeting.
Excellent. So with that being said, one no to me is more important to satisfy the questions. I'd like to continue his appointment to the next council meeting, if we could. Council President Gilman.
Can do that. Thank you. And do we need to go back to Anthony Murawski from the Shellfish Advisory Commission? I'm not sure if he's come back.
I haven't seen Anthony, and I'd like to do the same for him, to put him off to the next meeting if possible.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Thank you, Counselor. We
Excellent.
had a
Thanks,
lot of
everybody, for coming tonight.
appointments. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
The next order of business is the consent agenda.
Counselors, does anyone wish to pull any matter off the consent agenda? Counselor Gross.
I don't necessarily want to pull anything off. I just have a question where there's 5 new counselors now, and most of us have never met the reappointments. I was wondering, since we're at Zoom and it's not a major inconvenience, if they could be asked to attend the next meeting too, in case someone has any questions. I don't know if that's appropriate or inappropriate, but I don't want to pull anything off, but just, I'm done. Go ahead, Sean.
Counselor Nolan, go ahead.
I do feel that with 5 councils, we came into it with 5 councils too, and there's nothing on the city charter or any rules that say that reappointments don't have to appear in front of us for the council, full council. I have no problem asking the future reappointments to come before the council to be known, if that's the pleasure of the full council.
Council, any counselors want to weigh in? Counselor Grow?
I think that's an excellent idea. I mean, you know, we do appreciate the fact that people volunteer and they get on these committees and serve the city, but at the same time, sometimes people have been on there for years. They may be well known within their own circle of the committee and all, but aren't necessarily known to the public and to the council. So having a brief introduction is probably a good idea, and I support that.
Counselor O'Neill.
Yes, I don't have a problem asking them to come next week, but I noticed Mr. Ryan has been here and he's on the Traffic Commission. I didn't know if he can introduce himself and get his part done. So he doesn't have to come next week. I mean, is that appropriate or not?
So I would say he needs to be approved by O&A first, Counselor. So that would be.
Oh, okay.
He's here for another reason.
My apologies, sorry.
Madam President. Yeah, I did not mean the reappointments for this evening. You know, we have not given them a heads up. They already have been through O&A and approved through O&A. So I was not referring to, I was referring to the ones that were going to be referred out, not the ones, I did not want to hold up tonight's reappointments. That was not my intention. You know, for one thing, we're up against a clock, and it's not, you know, these people were told they didn't need to show up. So I don't know if it's necessarily fair to then tell them, you know, oh, sorry, we need a redo, because so that was not my intention.
Right. So you're talking about the folks that are referred to O&A.
Correct.
And what you're saying is that you'd like them to be brought in as just given the opportunity to come and do what we've just been doing tonight with the folks, with the new appointees. You know, let's see, we've got a question from Council Memard. Go ahead, Council.
I would just, I agree with what you're all saying. especially with 5 new counselors. But I'd also just like to point and highlight that we have the resource of the Zoom meetings so that we can look back at the interviews that were conducted by O&A. And that's a great way to introduce ourselves to those people, at least through this process. And then if we have follow-up questions, at least we've made that introduction.
Thank you. Council Worthley, go ahead.
I just want to thank Councilor Gross as one of the 5 newer counselors. I have a great memory for names once I associate a face, and without that, I sometimes can't remember who people are. So I think it makes a difference. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Grow, are you raising your hand?
No, I would just, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I neglected to think about the fact that we can attend the O&A meeting if we are so interested, and they all do appear at that particular meeting. So, you know, I'm not hung up on them appearing at both meetings. If people are interested, they can meet them at the O&A meeting. And I'm sure if there's any questions that need to be asked, we can filter those through the O&A subcommittee.
And I would piggyback on that. I think that that's probably a good procedural question, because we are all able to ask questions of candidates, even if we're not on that O&A subcommittee. So we would be able to ask a question like we're doing tonight and go through at least the reappointments in that forum, and then do as we're doing this week on the new appointments. That would be my preference. Councilor Gross, go ahead.
Yeah, my only concern there is that many of us aren't able to attend some of those meetings to actually be able to ask the questions. We can watch it, but we weren't able to have the opportunity. You know, if it was in person at City Hall, I think we would have to think about this even harder, but where it's, I'm happy with the will of the council, but I think I would, you know, I had one person who's up for reappointment tonight text me and say, you know, they're here, they're an attendee, but they were asking me if they were supposed to be here, and they actually wanted to talk. So, and they're a reappointment. I said, no, it's going to be voted as a block, not individually. So.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion? We can take a vote.
Also Gilman, the mayor has his hand up.
How come I'm not seeing the mayor on my screen? Oh, okay. I see his hand up. Mayor.
I was agreeing with everything Tony was saying, then I was agreeing with everything.
Okay.
But I must add, because I think everybody has said in one way or another, we are up against it. These terms expire on the 14th of February. And, you know, we came in on January 3rd, the first business day of the year, and have been trying to do dozens and dozens of reappointments. So times are wasting. So anything we can do to speed it along would be helpful. At the very least, I would agree that the people who are on tonight's consent agenda shouldn't be asked to come back.
Right, and I think Councilor Gross was clear on that was not what he was talking about. So let's make sure, Councilor Nolan, in the next O&A meeting, you ask the folks that you are going forward with reappointments and new appointments to be at our next meeting, just so we can say hello for a minute. If it seems like that was the majority of the committee without taking a roll call. Great. So so I believe that that we don't need to talk anymore about this. So there was my ask is that does anyone wish to pull any matter off the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as noted?
Move to approve.
Councilor Grow, is there a second? I don't see who did the second.
Second.
Councilor Gross. Okay, we have a motion from Councilor Grow, seconded by Councilor Gross, a roll call vote on tonight's consent agenda. Councilor Majota?
Yes.
Councilor Memhard?
Yes.
Councilor Nolan?
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilor Worthley?
Yes.
Councilor Gilman? Yes. Councilor Gross?
Yes.
Councilor Crowe?
Think about it. Yes.
I don't know if I want to be here tonight, so Great. So the yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
This is the unanimous consent calendar.
Thank you. So tonight we have two matters on the unanimous consent agenda. One is an addendum to the mayor's report, memorandum from the interim community development director requesting acceptance of a National Grid Mass Save sponsored Community First Partnership grant in the amount of $40,000, and that's to be referred to BNF. Second, there's a council order, City Council 2022-004, Gilman, Nolan, Memhard, ordered that the city council audit and amend the GCO to be consistent with new resident parking regulations adopted by the city council on May 25th, 2021, and that be referred to O&A. Is there anyone that would like to remove a matter on the unanimous consent agenda? Seeing none, roll call vote to support the unanimous consent agenda. Let's begin with Council Majota,
Yes.
Council Memard,
Yes.
Council Nolan,
Yes.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
Yes.
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes, Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
The next order of business is the Budget and Finance Standing Committee report of February 3rd.
I'd like to turn the meeting over to the Vice Chair of BNF, who led the last meeting on February 3rd, 2022. So Tony Gross, take it away.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam President. We have on the meeting tonight, there's City Auditor Kenny Costa and the CFO John Dunn, who will be able to help us through these. We have 4 recommendations of the free cash distribution of what we're supposed to do with it. We have on the first motion, on a motion by Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Grow, the Budget and Finance Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 2022 SA7 in the amount of $510,580 from the general fund, undesignated fund balance, free cash, account number 001-359000 to general stabilization fund transfers in the general fund account 75004-497001 per the capital plan funding and free cash distribution policy. And I so move.
Second.
So
Okay, there's Tony Gross has moved the motion, and Jeff Worthley has seconded it. Counselor, is there a narrative on this?
I would like to defer to either the CFO or the city auditor to walk us through this. That would probably be better than trying to bounce around on it.
Okay, that's great. And just for the folks that are listening in on the call, this is all a component of the memorandum from the CFO regarding free cash distribution memo and supplemental appropriation budgetary requests. So thank you for being here. I think John Dunn or Kenny Costa. John Dunn is waving, so welcome, John. And if you would unmute yourself and tell us about this motion, that would be great. John, you're muted. Now you're not.
Now?
Thank you. We can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you.
Thank you for being
Okay.
here.
So this is the kind of transfers that we have done for the past 5 or 6 years, and just moving free cash into stabilization funds. So the whole the number of transfers you're gonna see over these 3 or 4 are gonna be transfers to stabilization funds and also transfer to the OPEB trust fund. So this is something that's been happening for 3, 4, 5 years, and we're just kind of keeping the same percentage transfers as we've had in the past.
Council Nolan.
If you wish, we did rule before under procedure that we don't have to read the actual account numbers during these reports. It would be up to Councilor Gross or Councilor Memhard if they'd like to, but we did rule that the account actual numbers weren't necessary. I don't know if that's something worth mentioning or not.
And yes, thank you very much, Counselor, for mentioning that. I think, as we move forward, you can just basically make reference to the appropriation number. And that would basically, kind of follow up with what is has been presented to BNF and then approved by the council.
Great, thank you.
It'll save your voice.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Worthley. Further discussion? Roll call vote. Councilor Majota,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard,
Yes, and I'd like to thank Tony for stepping in on short notice to chair the Budget and Finance meeting. Thank you, Tony.
Councilor Nolan,
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman, yes, Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Grow. Councilor Grow?
Yes.
Yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Next recommendation, Councilor.
Next, and I would like to thank Councilor Nolan for that because it gets rid of a whole bunch of word salad here for me. Muchly appreciated. This is the second of 4 of these recommendations. On a motion by Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Worthley, the Budget and Finance Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 2022 SA8 in the amount of $1,021,160 from the general fund undesignated balance free cash to the Building Maintenance Stabilization Fund. Transfers in from the general fund per capital plan funding and free cash distribution policy. And I so move.
Second.
There's a motion made by Councilor Gross and seconded by Councilor Worthley. Is there just discussion, councilors? Okay, roll call vote. Councilor Majota,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan,
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman, yes, Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Grow.
Yes.
Yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Next recommendation, Councilor.
The next recommendation is on a motion by Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Worthley. The Budget and Finance Committee voted roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 2022 SA9 in the amount of $2,042,320 from the general fund undesignated fund balance free cash to the Capital Project Stabilization Fund. Transfers from the general fund per the capital plan funding and free cash distribution policy. And I so move.
Second.
It's a motion made by Councilor Gross and seconded by Councilor Worthy. Is there discussion, councilors? Roll call vote. Councilor Majota,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan,
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes. Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow.
Yep.
Yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Next recommendation, Counselor.
Okay, this is the last motion for the free cash distribution. On a motion by Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Grow, the Budget and Finance Committee voted roll 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 2022 SA 10 in the amount of $450,000 from the general fund undesignated fund balance free cash to the other post-employment benefits trust fund. Transfer in from general fund account to partially fund the city's OPEB or other post-employment benefit unfunded liability. And I so move.
Second.
There is a motion by Council Gross, seconded by Council Majota. Is there a discussion, councilors? Roll call vote. Council Majota,
Yes.
Council Memard,
Yes.
Council Nolan,
Yes.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
Yes.
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes. Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow.
Yep.
Yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Next
Okay.
order to present, Council Gross.
The next order of business is a memorandum and supplemental appropriation budgetary request 2022 SA 11 from Fire Chief requesting acceptance of FY22 MA DFS Firefighter Safety Equipment Grant in the amount of $10,244.79. I don't know if the chief is with us. Otherwise, I can give a brief description of what this is.
I do not see Chief Smith on the call. So you were there and he was at your meeting, so that would be
Yep.
terrific.
So this is for an inflatable carry boat that's for near shore and ice rescues that they can carry into a site, either over rocky terrain on the coast where they need to be, it's near shore and a deeper draft vessel can't get to them, or particularly our ice rescues during the time of year we're coming up into, which is so important to have these types of things. So this it fully funds the boat. You'll see on the next request that the outboard unfortunately did not get funded with this, but we are going to make that good also. So I don't know if there's any question.
Great. Looks like Council Gross is frozen again.
Comcast.
Yeah. Council Grow.
I was at the meeting and I neglected to ask this question. Is there any funding for the trailer? How does this, I'm assuming they're not running this boat from the fire station out. How are they going to be transporting it? Do we know?
They carry it.
Yeah, I know that once they get to the site, but how are they getting it from the
We did not discuss, there was not
Yeah.
a trailer on the, I missed part of that because I froze out again.
Yeah. That was the question. Are we going to need funding for the trailer, or do they have?
No,
Our
this,
CAO knows the answer, so.
okay.
Go ahead, Jill, fire away.
My understanding is it can be transported in one of their large pickup trucks,
Exactly, yep.
the style that it is. Yeah, absolutely. And trust me, Chief Smith is very, very thorough in his requests when he needs equipment. So I have complete faith that if
I
he
just
needed
wanted
a
to give him
trailer,
more money.
he would have
Lots more money. All the money. Give him all the money.
Thank you.
No, Jason, I can with confidence, having done it myself, these inflatables fit very nicely in the bed of a pickup truck.
Great.
So,
So do you want to do the committee recommendation, Counselor?
oh, I guess I do, since so, so we also in this, all right, here it is. Here it is. On a motion by Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Worthley, the Budget and Finance Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend to the city council to accept state grant under MGL 44, section 53A, an FY22 firefighter safety equipment grant from the Mass Department of Fire Services in the amount of $10,244.79 for the purpose of purchasing an ice rescue board rapid deployment craft for use in nearshore and water rescues. This grant period is through June 30th, 2022, and there is no match for this grant, and I so move.
Second.
There's a motion made by Council Gross, seconded by Council Worthley. Is there a discussion, councilors? Seeing none, roll call vote. Council Council Nolan.
Council Nolan has a question.
I just saw it. Yeah, thank you.
Not a question, but I would like to remind the fire department does have a couple of new pickup trucks coming. So they should have plenty of trucks to transport that boat.
And you would know, right? That's awesome. Okay. So roll call vote. Councilor Majota.
Yes.
Councilor Memard.
Yes.
Councilor Nolan.
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilor Worthley.
Yes.
Councilor Gilman. Yes. Councilor Gross.
Yes.
Councilor Grow.
Yes.
Yeses have it. 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Next recommendation, Councilor.
All right, if it's okay with everybody, I want to read the motion first and then do this description afterwards, if that's okay.
Sure, read the committee recommendation. Yep.
On a motion by Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Worthley, the Budget and Finance Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 2022 SA 11 in the amount of $8,800 from the Capital Project Stabilization Fund balance to the Capital Project Stabilization Fund Fire Public Safety Equipment to purchase an outboard motor and other associated equipment for the Ice Rescue Board Rapid Deployment Craft for use in nearshore and water rescues, and I so move.
Second.
So
There's
I'll give a
motion
little
from
breakdown.
Councilor Gross, seconded by Council Worthley. So is there description, Council Gross?
I'll give a little breakdown. This, they didn't get the outboard with the grant. And this outboard is a jet drive so that it doesn't, people don't get caught in the propeller. So it's I think it's a 25 horsepower. So that's basically what it is. This is a outboard, tiller driven, not, there's no steering wheel or anything like that with it. It's tiller driven, jet drive. So it's safety, equipped, short shaft outboard.
Great, thank you. Any further discussion, councilors? Seeing none, a roll call vote. Council Majota.
Yes.
Council Memard.
Rescue away, yes.
Council Nolan.
Yes, hope you never have to use it.
Council O'Hara.
Yes.
Council O'Neill.
Yes.
Council Worthley.
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes. Council Gross.
Yes.
Council Grow.
Yes.
The yeses have it. 9 in favor, 0 opposed.
We have one more item on the BNF. It's a memorandum from Fire Chief requesting acceptance of donated equipment from the Cape Ann Transit Authority. So I'll read the motion. On a motion by Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Grow, the Budget and Finance Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council accept under MGL Chapter 44, Section 53A and a half, a gift of tangible goods to the City of Gloucester Fire Department from the Cape Ann Transit Authority for 8 Hector vehicle lifts, Model 6, for the use in the apparatus repair facility with an estimated value of $18,000, and I so move.
Second.
There's a motion made by Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Worthley. Is there a discussion, councilors?
Would they like a little description?
Sure.
So these are, lifts that are not permanently in place, so they can be moved to our location. They come with all their current inspections and reports about them. They're in really good shape. They're quite a good find for the city to get, and we're extremely lucky that Kate is replacing their equipment, upgrading, and we're able to get this really good shape secondhand materials for nothing. So.
Great, thank you. Council Worthley had your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, first I'd like to commend Chief Smith for, he's 3 for 3 at our budget and finance meetings as far as bringing things and gifts and grants. So I don't expect that to continue every meeting, but I got to give a lot of credit for bringing these. And also thank you to Kata. I'd asked the question at the committee. He has a process of thanking anybody that makes donations, and it wasn't clear if the council does, but I'd like to throw it back to you, Madam President, if there's a way to consider, we don't need to answer it now, but a automatic process of thanking the various organizations that make donations. It might help beget future donations if we show our gratitude.
Happy to research that. Thank you, Counselor. Any other further discussion?
Thank you, Kata.
Thank you, Councilor Nolan. Councilor Memard, thumbs up.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Kata.
Yeah, thank you. So roll call vote. Councilor Majota,
Yes.
Councilor Memard,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan,
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman, yes. Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Grow.
Yep.
Yes, let's have it. 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Next order of business, Madam Chair, Madam Clerk.
The next order of business is the Ordinance Administration Standing Committee report of January 31st, sorry.
Councilor Nolan.
There is no items under this head tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
The Planning and Development Standing Committee report of February 2nd.
Nothing to,
Gross.
nothing to, oh, sorry. Am I muting? There we go. Nothing to report on the meeting. Thank you.
Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Is the first scheduled public hearing 2022-003, application of Islands and Realty Trust for the storage of propane at 132 Coles Island Road, Assessors Map 259, Lot 7.
Great, thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing and ask our applicant, Adam Scott, to speak in favor of this application. Thank you, Adam, and you were the first on the call, so you've been on this for a long time. So thank you for your patience.
No problem. Well, thank you all. My name is Adam Scott from Scott Energy here in Gloucester, Mass. I am representing the homeowner of 132 Coles Island Road, Islands and Realty Trust. We have applied for a license with the city of Gloucester for a maximum of up to 4,000 gallons of stored LP on the property. Due to the location of the home being so far off the main road and looking to be more off the grid. And in order to satisfy the BTU load that the home is being built for. And the Gloucester Fire Department has signed off on their portion of the permit. And we've met with the Planning and Development Standing Committee.
Great, thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor? Madam Clerk, there's a person that Betty D. I don't know if they are raising their hand. Is there a hand raised on your screen? No, I think we're okay. Okay, so seeing none, anyone like to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, are there any communications?
There are no communications.
Councilors, do you have any questions? Councilor Grow.
Mr. Scott, can you talk about what this propane is being used for and its relative comparative use to what I would refer to as an average house?
Yeah, sure. So the reason for the extra storage is based on the size and capacity of the heating system The generator, it's a, larger than your average residential generator. It's a commercial size generator. And also they have a system designed for an ice melt system. So in order to be able to satisfy that demand, the way propane vaporizes, you need the proper tank storage in order to take care of that demand. So a lot of that will just be not in use unless there is a major power outage. But comparison to your average home, it is a much more grandiose in size and scale.
Can you add some numbers to that?
So your average house could have anywhere from 200 to 500,000 BTUs. Depending on what the home has, if it has a generator, heating system, fireplace, cooking, what have you. And this house, you're looking at well over like 1.6 million BTUs.
Okay, I don't mean to be a stickler, but your numbers are a little different than your subcommittee numbers. You've raised your average and you lowered your homeowners. I mean, I'm not to be picky about this, but one of the things that struck me on this was the sheer volume of fuel that's being used for this house. And I just want to get some context for how it compares to an average consumption of an average house.
Yeah. Again, its consumption is all going to depend on the power outage and the ice melt system. So if we don't have, massive storms that knock out the power, there won't be as much, usage of the fuel. But, by state and local codes, you have to apply for a permit with anything over 2,001 gallons of propane storage on a property.
And finally, last one quickly.
Yep.
This will be subject to inspection annually?
Correct.
By the fire department?
Correct.
Thank you. Any further questions, counselors? Counselor Gross.
Yeah, not really a question, but more of a comment. That in this day where we're trying to minimize our energy footprint, this just seems that, and some of our zoning is being driven by that also. So I don't know if we want to start taking a look at since we're supposed to be a green city, if we want to start taking a look at some of these systems. That's all.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Nolan.
I can see where it's going. It's not really a green situation that we're talking about. I believe that if this was on the natural gas pipeline, it wouldn't even be in front of us. The only issue is that it's a storage tank that's being installed, that's been approved by the fire department and building. The amount of gas that one person uses isn't really in our purview for the permit. If it was just piped through the national grid to the home, the person would be allowed to use and waste whatever they'd like to do. But I think that we should look into different scenarios of heated asphalts and different things like that. But I think for this case personally, it's strange to me to be talking off topic on that and think about the actual license for the storage tank.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further questions? Madam Clerk.
Can I just comment or make a statement that if this is approved, they have to have an annual license every year through the city clerk's office. So in order to comply with state and local law ordinance, so every year he would be required to submit the required paperwork, and we would issue him a license once he pays the appropriate fee.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Seeing no more further questions, I'd like to close the public hearing and ask for the committee report by our P&D Chair, Councilor Grow.
On a motion of Counselor Gilman, seconded by Counselor O'Neill, the Planning and Development Committee voted on a roll call vote, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council grant a license under General GCO Chapter 8 Fire Prevention and Protection, Section 8.1, license for storing inflammables, Mass General Law, Chapter 148, Section 13, and 527 CMR 1.00 for storage of inflammables at 132 Coles Island Road, Assessors Map 259, Lot 7. Owners of the islands and Realty Trust specifically to store 4,000 gallons of propane in 4 1,000-gallon ASME UG, which I'm assuming is underground containers, with the following condition that said 4,000-gallon ASME UG containers be used for the exclusive use of 132 Coles Island Road, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Counselor Gross, seconded by Counselor O'Neill. Is there discussion, counselors? Counselor Grow.
I want to, I agree with both Tony and Sean on this. I see no particular reason legally or justifiably under our regulations to not grant this permit. I think what struck me is that it is a phenomenal amount of energy being used for a single property. And while that is perfectly within the rights of the property owner, and I understand that, getting to Councilor Gross's point, as a community, I think we need to begin to recognize that energy consumption like this is something that we should maybe be paying a little bit more attention to. And I'm hoping that once we get a sustainability director, somebody in the administration who's dealing with sustainability issues, that maybe we think about whether or not some of these projects are justifiable in that regard from an overall community responsibility point of view. I don't see any reason why I would hold this particular property owner to a different set of imagined regulations at this point, but it did strike me, and it did cause me to pause and think about what this means in terms of our responsibility as a community to think about the kind of energy usage that we're endorsing through our licensing and permitting. You know, his next door neighbor, his relative, also has a similar system on there. So you've got, you know, effectively 3.6 million BTUs cranking away on 2 lots in the city. And while I agree with Councilor Nolan, they could be on natural gas and we wouldn't know about it. And I appreciate that. I think that this just harkens to the idea that maybe we need to have a bigger discussion about community energy usage and what we are trying to endorse within the city of Gloucester. I will be supporting it because I as I said, I don't feel any particular justification not to on my personal feelings, and I will be voting for it, but I think it deserves part of a larger conversation.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion, counselors? Seeing none, a roll call vote. Counselor Majota,
Yes.
Counselor Memard,
Yes.
Counselor Nolan,
Yes.
Counselor O'Hara,
Yes.
Counselor O'Neill,
Yes.
Counselor Worthley,
Yes.
Counselor Gilman, yes. Counselor Gross,
Yes.
Counselor Grow.
Yes.
The yeses have it. 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
The
Thank
next
you.
Oh, okay. The next order of business is the third public hearing, because the second public hearing we took up out of order at the beginning of the meeting is public hearing 2021-033 to amend Gloucester Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Section 22-270, Parking Prohibited at All Times, and Section 22-291, Tollway Zones, by adding Farrington Avenue northerly side from its intersection with Eastern Point Boulevard in an easterly direction to its intersection with St. Louis Avenue. And this matter was referred back to O&A from the December 14, 2021 City Council meeting.
Thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing and ask anyone that would like to speak in favor of this.
Madam President,
Counselor Nolan.
do you think it'd be all right to take a brief recess before the next public hearing? It could be a lengthy one.
The public hearing right now.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to recess for 5 minutes?
So moved.
Second by Council Worthley. It does require a majority vote, so let's do a quick roll call. Council Majota,
Yes.
Council Memard,
Yes.
Council Nolan,
Yes.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
Yes.
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman. Yes, Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Let's take a 5-minute recess and we'll be back at 8 o'clock. Thank you.
That's great.
Do we normally have to do a recess for that, for a vote?
That's what Robert's rule said. Check
Oh,
it,
okay.
check
All
it on
right.
it. Yep.
Yeah.
I have 8 o'clock.
All right. It's like that scene from Flushed Away.
So I'm going to, I guess I'll reopen the public hearing. Just for those of you who might just be joining the call right now, we're on our final public hearing, which is to amend public hearing 2021-033, amend GCO Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Section 22-270, parking prohibited at all times, in Section 29-291, tow-away zones by adding Farrington Ave northerly side from its intersection with Eastern Point Boulevard in an easterly direction to its intersection with St. Louis Avenue. It was referred back to O&A from December 14th, 2021, and it's in front of us tonight for public hearing. So having said that, I will open the public hearing and ask anyone who would like to speak in favor of this. Please raise your hand and introduce yourself and your name. First, I see a hand from, I believe it's Peter Coakley. Council Grow, you have a question?
Just, we didn't do it in the last public hearing, but can you just quickly lay out the general rules for public hearings so that people understand what they are and are not allowed to expect?
Sure. So, if you're the applicant, you're able to speak for up to 15 minutes and support. And then we continue after that with additional people that are here in support. And then if you are the opposition, you can choose a person to speak for up to 15 minutes in opposition. And then everyone can speak after that for up to 3 minutes. After that has ended, then we can do a rebuttal if there was something that was brought up that someone didn't agree to from both sides. And then we ask for communications from our clerk's office to summarize all the letters and emails that have been sent forward. And then we open it up for questions from city councilors. So thank you. So right now we have, we've opened the public hearing, and I believe we were looking for Mr. Coakley. If you would introduce yourself. I don't see you on the screen. Joanne, did you let him in to the call?
No, he didn't have his hand up anymore, and Betty D has her hand up.
Okay, great. So hold on a sec. So Bob Ryan also has his hand up. So let's start with Bob. Would you like to speak in favor of this right now?
Not in favor, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, so
I will
Betty,
speak, but I'm in opposition, Madam President. I'll hold.
okay, great. Betty D, would you your name and address, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak to us in terms of why you're in support, and if there are no other people that are going to speak for a longer time and in support, we would certainly consider giving you extra time. So but let's start with 3 minutes, and then if you need more, we'll consider that. So name and address. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
My name is Betty Davis. I live at 29 Edgemore Road. I have lived on Edgemore Road since 1977 with my husband. I was unable to attend the last meeting when this issue was addressed because I was out of town. And when I saw it was on the agenda today, I was very pleased that I was able to at least make some comments. Parking on both sides of Farrington during the summer months, and it's only an issue for the summer months, is a safety concern, not only for pedestrians, but for vehicles. And I asked the committee once again to consider the residents' request. The residents' effect to reconsider their decision. What we're asking is that during the summer months, parking on Farrington Avenue is only allowed on one side of the street kind of bordering Eastern Point and then bordering where the beach goes. The reason we ask this is there are no sidewalks. It's a two-way traffic street. The size of the street is no bigger than East Main Street. With cars parked on both sides, pedestrians cannot walk safely. That's people going to the beach, people walking their dogs. With cars going in opposite directions, two cars cannot pass by each other when there are cars parked on either side, and they have to pull over and hold over, and pedestrians have to move out of the way. And it's a very big safety issue. The second reason why we don't think this is a good idea is emergency vehicles would not be able to drive up Farrington, or at a minimum, they would be seriously delayed responding to any kind of emergency. You may recall, and maybe you don't, but in the early 70s, there was an emergency on Edgemore Road, and someone kind of parked right at the intersection of who was at the beach on Farrington, right at the intersection of Farrington and Edgemore. The emergency vehicle could not come up the street. They were responding to a drowning child. The child drowned and did not get treatment in time because the emergency vehicle was delayed. Farrington, there are about 22 residents or homes on Edgemore Road and Stewart Avenue, which are very seriously affected by this double parking. And so it's not just for us residents, it's just for anyone who drives on that street or walks on the street. It's a problem. The other issue that I wanted to bring up is that when we leave, the residents leave Edgemore or Farrington, and they try to turn on, excuse me?
Excuse me, Betty, just to let you know, you are over the 3 minutes, but if there are no other folks speaking in favor of this, I will let you continue. So just be mindful of the time. So thank you.
I'm almost done, so thank you. The other thing is when the residents from Edgemore and Stewart try, when cars are parked on both sides of the street, to pull out, it's kind of like we have, 6 or 7 foot snow drifts all during the summer. On the weekends, you just can't see. And when you pull out, you just hope when you pull out, there isn't a car coming over the hill down Farrington toward the beach or up from the beach that you can't see and is going to hit the front of your car. It's a safety issue for everybody. Now, I can't offer solutions, but I'm suggesting that perhaps these might be some solutions. Right at this place, St. Anthony by the Sea Chapel parking lot is right there on the intersection of St. Louis and Farrington. I know the church has not used the chapel for services or funerals for at least 10 years. I believe they also have not used the parking lot for weddings in 3 years. So that's longer than COVID. So I don't think it's a COVID related issue, but I don't know. That's something the church would have to be, addressed. But that might be an option to let people park there during, on the weekends to avoid this problem and to allow parking on only one side of the street. I do know, and actually when we were building our house here on Edgemore in 1977, we lived on Nautilus Road. And I know now there's no parking allowed on Nautilus Road by the footbridge to Good Harbor for the summer months. And it's because of the same safety issue. It's because of the cars, it's because of the people. And if you could possibly consider limiting the parking to the one side during the summer months, perhaps only, it would be, it would help, it would make things safe. I do know that sometimes I see parents trying to hold a child's hand, 2 cars going opposite directions, cars parked on both sides, and there is no sidewalk. And it's, maybe if the city wants to put the money in for a small sidewalk, that's still not going to solve the problem. It's going to basically, the problem is the street is too narrow. It's about the same width as East Main Street. And if you look at the straightaways on East Main Street, there certainly isn't two side parking on East Main Street. In fact, there isn't even hardly one side parking, and they have a small sidewalk. cars during the night, if they do park there on the night, actually pull up on the sidewalk because it's very dangerous. So I would just hope that the city and the committee would reconsider this because it is a safety hazard and it's an accident waiting to happen.
Thank you, Betty.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other folks that would like to speak in favor? I saw Mr. Coakley, his hand was raised and now I don't see him. Madam Clerk, do you see anyone with their hands raised to speak in favor?
Oh, there you go.
I don't see anyone. Is there
I don't
anyone?
either.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition?
Oh, there you go.
Oh, I just saw Mr. Coakley popped up again.
Oh.
No, okay. So,
His hand keeps on going up and down, so I'm not sure what is going on with that. So I don't know if you want to allow him to speak, to ask him if he wants to allow to speak.
Peter Coakley, do you want to speak? Because we'd like to hear from you. Oh, here he is. Okay. Name and address, please. And we're talking in support of Council Memard's order.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can, loud and clear.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Thank you. I'll take 3 minutes at the most, and thank you for your time. As you said before, it went to O&A last year, and they, after the abutters all spoke, they unanimously voted in favor of this. And I would add, this is a very, very small section of street that we're talking about. I don't know if it's 10 cars or 12 cars, but it says, Betty Davis said, it just creates, a total mess. The argument against it, why it came back to you, is that it's a tradition, it's Mother's Beach. I agree. It's a beautiful beach. I'm sorry, I live on the corner of Eastern Point Boulevard and Farrington. So I go to the beach every day. And I appreciate the beach. I've lived there for 20 years, but things have changed. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have made this call, but Gloucester's been discovered. And right now, people will go to Good Harbor Beach, and the word is out to get over to Niles Beach because you can park all the way up Farrington to Atlantic if you want to. And it's created total chaos on a busy summer day. I mean, for example, there is no sidewalks. The people are carrying beach gear and baby carriages marching down the middle of Farrington with the doors open on both sides because no one can have a sidewalk to get off of. There's hundreds of cars trying to get in and out of Eastern Point. There's cars on the beach backing onto the boulevard with pedestrians trying to not get hit by those cars. The people in Farrington, there's no sidewalks, as I said, so it's a total mess. The other beaches in Gloucester, as she said, I also lived on Nautilus by the footbridge. They don't allow any parking anywhere in the neighborhood. I mean, people are saying, but we want to go to our Gloucester beach. Well, then why don't you allocate residents only parking at Good Harbor Beach on the streets of the neighbors and on Wingershik on the streets of the neighbors? This has just gone on forever. So people think that this is a lifetime right to have. I can't even get out of my driveway. And then no one's mentioned, but then there's the garbage and diapers on what should be a sidewalk. And these other beaches too, Niles Beach is, big part of it is a private beach. And on those other beaches, Wingershik, Good Harbor, even Long Beach, they close that to the public, which, I mean, Scott Memhart knows that. That's a Massachusetts state law. I don't know. I would just say, I asked an attorney today, if the city or town is warned of a safety issue, do they have liability? And he said, absolutely, if something happens and they've been warned. Now, I have a friend, Robert Hughes, Gloucester resident, last year trying to navigate his bicycle, hit a car door, fell off, fractured his ribs, punctured his lung with the ribs. And I saw him last week and he's still having some issue with his lungs. So I really don't think we should be choosing convenience over safety, because it really, really, truly is not what it was 10 or 20 years ago. If there was parking on this small section, it should be residents only. And from the church up, there should be no parking. People shouldn't be parking on the way up to Atlantic Ave and marching down the middle of Farrington to go to the beach. But thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Coakley. Anyone else like to speak in favor? Karen O'Donnell, would you introduce yourself and your address?
Yes, can you hear me?
Hear you loud and clear. Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I live at 3 Orchard Road, Gloucester, Mass. And I am opposed to it because of a few things. One, I work for the city and I get out at 3 o'clock, and I'd like to drive over and meet the rest of my family at Niles's Beach. And a lot of the time the parking spots are all taken. And with my resident sticker, it's nice to be able to go and park on Farrington Ave. And I might say, they keep saying there's no sidewalks, but most of the time when you're walking down Farrington Ave to get to the beach, there's some nice soft shoulder to the right-hand side heading towards the beach, and the same on the opposite side. So you're not in the street the entire time. So I'm opposed of it because we do need the extra parking. And as residents of the city of Gloucester, once we have our beach stickers, we should be able to park on either side so we can go and enjoy the beach.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Grow, you have your hand raised.
I just want to remind, we're still in the proponent side of this.
Yeah, but I don't think that there are any more. So,
right.
so because there was the hands all came up. So at this point, people that have their hands up, just when we call you to speak, just say if you're in favor or not, and then speak up to 3 minutes. So next hand that is raised is in either in favor or opposition.
Bob Ryan had his hand up.
Okay, Bob Ryan. Introduce yourself and your role, please. Thank you. And you're muted. Bob, on the bottom, hit your unmuted button. There you go. Thank you.
That's it. All right, I had a problem with my mouse here. Good evening, Madam President and other council members. My name is Bob Ryan, 3 Blake Court, here in Gloucester, Chairman of the Traffic Commission. I'm here tonight to oppose this order, several reasons. One, first and foremost, as you all know, Eastern Point Boulevard along Niles Beach, there are 40 parking resident sticker only spaces, 2 of which are handicap spaces. Moving up Farrington Ave on the southerly side from the Stone Pillars to St. Louis Avenue, we have approximately 20 spaces there, and that's designated also May 1st to September 15th, resident sticker parking as well. On the northerly side, the side in question this evening, that's open to both residents and non-residents. So if we look at Niles Beach, we have 40. On the southerly side of Farrington, we have 20. That's 60 spaces for Gloucester residents. The other side, we hear numbers, only 8 cars or 10 cars will be displaced, and that's not accurate. It measures from Stewart Avenue all the way up to St. Louis. It measures 640 feet. And if we back out 60, divide that number by either 20 or 25 feet for a car length, that's 23 to 29 spaces. And as it stands right now, these are like mostly non-residents parking on that side. We spend a lot of money on tourism. We can't shun people away. We accommodate them at Good Harbor Beach. We have non-residents, residents and non-residents. We have over at Wangashik, we have residents and non-residents. So I think it would be totally unreasonable to limit parking right at Niles Beach. That covers the spaces available. Again, leaving the northerly side as is. Second point, I had Lieutenant Williams, Mike Williams on the Traffic Commission. He did a 5-year look back. There hasn't been one moving vehicle violation from Eastern Point Boulevard all the way to St. Louis Avenue. There were 2 accidents down near Atlantic Road, cars running off the road, having nothing to do with attending the beach. Lastly, this came about going back to 1974 as well. Since then, allowing parking since 1974 to today, we haven't, again, had any traffic issues, safety issues. Everything has gone well. My last point is, if it's not broken, why try to fix it? Again, let's be tourist friendly. Let's accommodate our residents. And if some of you recall back about 10 years ago, Paul McGarry had asked on the southerly side to put resident sticker parking so we can accommodate the Gloucester people at that beach. Some people call it a mother's beach. But again, we're taking 60 spaces for residents and approximately 29 for non-residents. And I think that's very reasonable. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else like to speak in either favor or opposition? Just Marianne Boucher, introduce yourself and your address. Thank you. And let's keep these to 3 minutes. And Joanna, I'll just ask that you keep an eye on the clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne Albert Boucher. Thank you, Council President. Several years ago, I worked side by side with Paul McGarry, then the Ward 1 councilor, to address the parking along Niles Beach, and both on the Eastern Point Boulevard or roadside, as well as Farrington Avenue side. At that time, parking was only allowed in front of the beach where the divided parking spaces are. This left many vehicles using other areas to park on the side of adjacent streets, roads, and in front of other driveways, and wherever anyone thought they could park, they would park. It was determined after many discussions and visits to the site with Mr. McGarry and other constituents that the best solution was to create more resident beach parking sticker spots along one side of Farrington Avenue, St. Anthony's Church side, while keeping the other side open to non-sticker vehicles. The city felt that if they were able to be a tourist destination place, then we should provide spaces for others. The Edgemore Street side of Farrington Avenue became open to all, both residents and non-residents, up to St. Anthony's Church, both sides. Residents wanted both of the street sides to be resident sticker parking only, but understood the beauty that the city can be shared. I'm a frequent flyer of Niles Beach. In fact, I'm there most days during the summer. I don't know of any accidents or close calls in that area. There's plenty of room for emergency vehicles, even when the vehicles are parked on both sides of the street. And if there is a problem getting into Edgemore Road or Stewart, eliminate one parking space on either side of that street. That will free up getting in and getting out. All of this was vetted and discussed and agreed upon when this came up for review years ago, when the city voted yes to create these new parking spaces. In my humble opinion, if you remove these spaces from that side of the street, it will most definitely cause more problems in the area with people that have become accustomed to parking. They are going to look for any street, any space, anywhere. They're going to walk their children further and everything else that goes along with their beach supplies. I highly oppose you taking away these parking spaces, as it is just going to cause more of a problem. Yes, COVID did create more people coming to Niles Beach and parking further up. So if you really want to prevent more people from coming, you're going to have to take away the non-resident parking. That way the non-residents will understand that they can't park there. But if we are going to be a true destination city like we want to be, then we should allow at least a few spaces for non-residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marianne. Next hand raised is Sue Muse. Sue, would you join us and state your name and address and tell us why you either approve of this or oppose it? Thank you. Sue, you can speak. We see you, on the screen. Go ahead.
Me?
Try again. You sound like you're in a tunnel. You can speak.
Can you hear me?
Now we can. Try again. You sound like.
Hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
All right. I'm in opposition. A lot of echo. Huh? Can you hear me now?
It's an echo.
Can you hear me?
You
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Need to come back in.
You need to log off and dial back in, and we'll call you because we're getting like a repeat echo. We can't hear you. So if you don't mind trying to dial out and then come back in, we'll
Come
call
back
it.
to me.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Next is Kathy Lawson. Kathy, would you come in and introduce yourself?
I had Heather Goolsby next.
Okay, I'm sorry, Kathy, hold on. Let's do Heather Goolsby. Heather, would you introduce yourself and your name and address and your name and address? Yeah. And,
Hi.
you have 3 minutes to speak in favor or opposition. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Heather Goolsby. I live at 12 Mondello Square. I'm opposed to the non-parking on the northerly side of Barrington Ave. There are times I've lived here all my life. I've gone to Niles Beach all my life. My children, my grandchildren have gone there. And there are times when if you don't get there early enough for that parking, you need to park someplace else. And Farrington Ave has always been great to be able to park there. My children grew up here, but now a couple of my children moved away and my daughter works second shift. And it was always great for that non-resident part so that she could come and visit with me and my grandchildren during the morning before she had to go to work. Because if not, I know I live in East Gloucester, but if I left to bring her back to her car at my house, I would lose my spot. That would be totally gone for the day. So I'm very opposed to this. And like I said, my family has been going to Niles Beach for 50 odd years.
Thank you, Heather. Next hand that is raised is Kelly Bracleone. Can we bring Kelly in? Kelly, your name and obviously and address. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kelly Brancleone. I reside at 18A Calder Street. I'm speaking in opposition to the parking ban. I'm a lifelong resident of East Gloucester and I'm very familiar with Niles Beach. In my youth, I worked as a lifeguard at Niles for the city of Gloucester, and now I frequent the beach with my 2 children. In my experiences, Niles Beach attracts families and seniors because of its easy and safe access. If you go to the beach and ask any child, where did you park today? The answer will go something like this. I'm not sure exactly. My mom dropped me off with her beach stuff and a grown-up kept an eye on me while she parked the car. This really goes to show you that Niles Beach is a safe place and children are not typically walking along Farrington Avenue. Traffic on Farrington Avenue during busy summer days is not a safety issue. In my opinion, it's just more of an inconvenience to a handful of neighbors. Please don't unjustly take away our access to this public beach from our deserving taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Susan Muse, should we try you again? Name and address. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
You're still.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I unmuted. I don't.
Okay, well, why don't you speak quickly so we can see if we can catch what you're saying.
Okay. I'm in opposition to changing any parking at Niles Beach. Can you hear me now?
Heard what you just said. It's not easy. to
Okay.
hear because it's echoing, but we did hear what you just said. So continue.
All right. All right. I've lived, sorry, Susan Muse. I live at 22 Mount Vernon Street, and I have been going to Niles Beach over the last 7 to 10 years. As traffic, yes, many citizens make the trip around the back shore daily, so the traffic flow will always be there. Many Gloucesterites have not had an impact in accidents as there haven't been any reported. The most issues, I think, are caused by the security guard at Eastern Point Boulevard because he slows everybody down to check and see, what they're going down there for. So parking on Farrington will have no impact. The area measures out for plenty of spaces, 20 or more, and as a lifelong resident, I'm asking the city council to leave the parking alone, allow the residents to park, and consider the lifelong beachgoers' wishes and not to succumb to a few who are new and old residents, but they have no real reason to justify a change. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you for your persistence with the weird connection. Appreciate it. Now we have Kaylee with her hand raised. Kaylee, would you introduce yourself and your address?
I had Kathy Lawson first.
Okay,
Next.
great, Kathy, that's fine. Name and address. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. My name is Kathy Lawson and I live at 40 East Main Street in Gloucester. And I am also a lifelong resident of Gloucester. I've been enjoying Niles Beach since I was a teenager. We used to play King of the Raft on that orange float that was moored out there many, many years ago. So I've been going to Niles for quite a while. But I would like to state that I am vehemently opposed to removing parking on the northerly side of Farrington Avenue for many reasons. First of all, Niles is a beach where many families with young children and a lot of elderly people, such as myself, go to spend their days during the summer. And if the parking on the northerly side is taken away on Farrington Avenue, it's going to make it extremely difficult to access the beach. As walking down Farrington Avenue past St. Louis Avenue is quite a hike and it's going to present challenges to this population. And as Karen O'Donnell stated, there is a soft shoulder on each side and the majority of people walk on that soft shoulder versus walking in the street. And secondly, I disagree with what was stated at the last meeting of this affecting 8 parking places. It's not affecting 8 parking places. It's affecting approximately 25 as stated by Bob Ryan. He measured it out and it's by using the industry standards, it's approximately 25 cars, not 8 parking spaces, which was represented at the last meeting. I don't agree with 8. And I would also bring up the fact that Lieutenant Mike Williams researched it and there was only, in the last 5 years, there were no accidents in that area. So I really don't think that there is a traffic problem in this area. And I truly believe that when the traffic comes through and they see parents with children walking, they in fact do slow down. And if there was no cars parked on the northerly side, they're going to come speeding through. So I respectfully ask for you to vote against this very ill-conceived proposal, which will not be in the best interest of hundreds of Gloucester residents. To appease 12 residents in that area who live there for a very short time in the summer to the detriment of many Gloucester residents, I just don't think it makes any sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. Now I see Kaylee. Kaylee, can we bring you in and your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Meone, and I live at 6 Davis Street Extension. I have 3 daughters who I take to Niles Beach almost daily in the summer. And I wanted to say that I strongly oppose this motion to get rid of the parking. I agree with Kelly. Most days you see so many mothers dropping off their kids and their stuff to the friends that are on the beach already, and it's the parents going up to park, and not many kids are walking down that road anyway. And I also agree with what others have said, that if you take away that parking, people are going to speed on that street more. And I definitely think Farrington Ave is much wider than East Main Street. I strongly disagree with that statement as well. So I wanted to go on the record saying that I strongly oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaylee. Any other folks on the call that would like to speak in either favor or in opposition? Let's see, we've got Deborah Liakos.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yeah, name and address, please. Thank you.
Debbie Liakos, 41 Woodward Avenue. I'm also a lifelong resident of Gloucester. I've been here 67 years. I'm a frequent flyer of going to the beaches, and I strongly oppose this parking change. I find it suspect that someone who spoke in wanting to have this changed, who's been on Edgemore for 45 years, it's suddenly become an issue. I find that suspect. And it's my understanding, like about a dozen residents came forward and wanted to see the changes. And I understand that COVID probably brought some, we did have some issues for a very short time because of COVID. But all in all, where there's no documented accidents, I also agree with Kaylee about the width of that road. I frequently travel that road, find it plenty wide. There's been not one documented case of any incident there. It would behoove the city to look at possibly creating sidewalks along that area from the intersection of Eastern Point Boulevard up towards the church, and making it safer for the residents and also the people that aren't going to the beach, that just want to walk the loop and go ahead and do the connect up to Atlantic and walk the back shore. So I think that's something the city needs to look at. And as Mary Ann Albert Boucher also said in the beginning, if we just removed one spot on the corner of Edgemore, that would alleviate that issue that these people are complaining about if it comes down to access of an emergency vehicle getting in and out of that road, or the safe exit or entry into that road for the residents. So again, I oppose this changes. These parking spots are very valuable to Gloucester residents, and we want to be able to continue to use them. There's no documented issues there, and if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Jacqueline Baldessano.
I have Katie Andrews before her.
Okay. Katie Andrews, name and address, and you have.
Hi, I'm Katie Andrews, 4 Decatur Street, Gloucester, Mass. I would like to oppose changing the parking on Farrington Ave and appreciate all the councilors' support in this. And I would also like to agree with what everybody else has been saying. I go to Niles frequently. I've never seen an accident in all those years. So I don't want to keep repeating what everybody's saying, but they're really and truly, we need to take care of all our residents. And I would appreciate you voting to keep it as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Now we have Jacqueline Baldessano.
Hi, I just wanted to speak, Jacqueline Baldessano, 14 Decatur Street, and I just wanted to speak in opposition as well. I think everyone did a fabulous job highlighting the reasons that we should oppose this. And I live on Decatur Street, and as many know, we get Good Harbor Beach parking here. So removing, parking other places, Decatur's a lot more narrow than Farrington Ave. So people will find those side roads and will park on them. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Denise Pascucci. Denise, introduce yourself and your address, and you have up to 3 minutes to talk to us on this matter.
Hello, can you hear me?
We sure can. Thank you.
Hi, Denise Pascucci, 20 Birch Grove Heights. I just want to also oppose these measures of taking parking away on Farrington Ave. Pretty soon, I'm going to be a retired grandma, and I have taken my grandchildren to Niles Beach, and it is just like everybody says, it's very easy to get in and out of, unload, and you know, the benefits are just outweigh Good Harbor Beach or Winged Sheep Beach. So I too oppose this, and I hope that our city council will consider listening to all of us. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Denise. Any other folks on the call that would like to speak in favor or in opposition? Seeing none, I would like to ask our city clerk if you can tell us about communications in addition to the background that you were able to find in terms of the history. So how about general communications first, if you would do that?
Okay. So the communications that we received were Patty Page opposed, doesn't feel safety in an issue. Denise Pascucci, who just spoke, she's opposed. Marianne Hobbs Boucher, opposed. Marianne Albert Boucher, opposed, doesn't feel safety is an issue. Carla Benjamin, Kelly Brancleone, doesn't feel safety is an issue, suggested a designated drop-off space. Gina Roselle opposed, Kate Andrews opposed, Susan Muse opposed, Karen Zager opposed, Kathy Lawson opposed, doesn't feel safety is an issue. Diane Easton opposed, Sharon Shinkola opposed, Deborah Aiello opposed, Pam Steele opposed, Jane P. Montanero opposed, Brenda Malloy opposed to restrictions, supports resident-only parking to the church and no restriction beyond. Let's see. Karen Cooner opposed, Maria Clark opposed, Jean Phillips opposed, Marla Polizia opposed, Janine Canellis opposed, Jerry Gula opposed, Stephen LeBlanc opposed, Julie Nicastro, A. Nicastro opposed, John Nicastro opposed, Jack and Betty Davis in favor, Peter and Kathy Copley in favor for public safety and trash concerns. Richard and Lanley Macon in favor of public safety and trash concerns. Karen and Paul Murphy in favor of public safety and trash concerns. Jean and Sandy Heacock, public safety and trash concerns in favor. Laura Coburn and Seth Hutchbaum in favor of public safety and trash concerns. Vincent and Elizabeth D. Cesare in favor of public safety and trash concerns. And I've distributed this Excel spreadsheet with all the communications to all the counselors.
Thank you, Joanne. Also, thank you to the clerk's office, because I know that in some cases, some people have corresponded at least 3 to 4 times since last fall, and they were all picked up in the reports that you did. So thank you for that hard work. I would like at this point for you to share the communications with City Council in terms of what you learned when you rolled up your sleeves to look at the history of Farrington parking.
Okay, so I see Pamela Stale's hand is up, and I'm not sure if I skipped her name or not, if I said Pamela Stale was opposed.
So let's continue with you, and,
Okay.
and I will suspend the rules of procedure to allow her to speak, but she raised her hand after we were into your section. So I'm
Okay.
continuing, and we'll make sure we give
All right.
Pam a chance.
So I just want to say that there were amendments to the Code of Ordinances that were initiated and voted on by previous city councils, and said amendments were submitted by former city clerks to update our Code of Ordinances in regard to parking on Farrington Avenue. After researching starting in 1970, we found the following. On July 7th, 1974, an emergency order was adopted to allow parking on the northerly side from St. Louis Avenue to Eastern Point Boulevard. And on August 1st, 1974, the City Council adopted the ordinance amendment, the emergency order. And under section 22-272, which says same Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays, no parking May 1st to September 15th, where it shall be unlawful for any person to park vehicles on Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays, etc. Farrington Avenue is on the books for Farrington Avenue North Side from St. Louis Avenue to Eastern Point Boulevard on Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays. And it should have been deleted from the code at the same time when the city council adopted the ordinance amendment on August 1st, 1974. So saying that is that there were so many amendments to the code in various councils, and when they put an amendment in, and sometimes a portion of the code which coincides with the no parking or to allow parking, was an oversight by not deleting another section. And as we come across these, which I have come across many since taking over as city clerk, we try to just clear up the confusion. So back in 1974, they did allow parking on the northerly side of Farrington Avenue.
And perhaps that's why it's unmarked right now in terms of
Yes.
sign. Okay, thank you. So is there any more communications, Madam Clerk?
No, they're not.
Okay, so now it's time for questions, counselors, and we're grateful that Chief Conley is on the phone, still zoomed in, hopefully, if because it's been a long night for you, and we totally respect the fact that you're here. So counselors, first of all, are there any questions that you'd like to ask of either the Councilor Nolan or Chief Conley or Bob Ryan?
Anyone at all?
Go ahead. Oh, I didn't see you, Jason. I'm sorry, Jeff.
If you'd like to
Go ahead.
defer to Jason,
Go for it. Come on.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, we're gonna get to comments, and I appreciate all of the comments from the residents. This question is for Ward Councilor Memhard, if I may. Have you, just to be clear, we're looking at the ordinance before us is to remove parking on both sides. Is that correct?
No.
Northerly side. Has it been
Northern-
considered? Sorry.
Northerly side.
So has there been consideration for allowing parking on the ocean side? That's how I see, that's how I have to visualize it.
There it is.
The eastern point, southerly side, as we call it, is reserved and posted currently as resident only parking from the entrance, from the gates, eastern point out to St. Louis Avenue. Yes.
Thank you for that clarity. My next question is for the administration. I'm sorry, may I ask another question?
One more, and then we'll open up the floor for other councilors to speak. Go ahead, Councilor.
Bad habit, I think. This is a question for the administration, although I don't expect they can answer it at the moment, just because they haven't been here for a summer yet. Maybe it's to Ms. Cahill. When I worked at Good Harbor Beach 25 years ago, we would recommend people to park at Long Beach. And if that place was full, we'd recommend they park at Niles Beach. And that was told to me from Parks and Recreation as sort of the protocol from the administration. I assume that you haven't had any of those kinds of conversations yet, but can we look into whether that's something that we discontinue, referring people to try to park at Niles Beach, where there is obviously not as much parking as there would be at Good Harbor or Stage Fort Park?
I can say we certainly have not, sorry, Madam Chair, Madam President, thank you. We certainly have not had any of those discussions under this administration. I can say from my work as Community Development Director in the previous administration, particularly through COVID and all of the work we've done to address traffic and beach traffic in particular, it's never come up in a conversation in my 4.5 years that we have ever suggested anybody divert any traffic to Niles Beach. In fact, the efforts that we've put forward related to parking have all been to divert parking to Stage Fort Park to use the K to trolley service.
Make sure that message is getting down to the people at the staff at the beach. That's it for, I have other questions, but I'll certainly release.
Thank you. Councilor Grow.
Two very quick questions. One, Joanne, can you clarify what is the current parking on the northern side of Farrington, as you understand it along that stretch of the road?
It is, parking is allowed on the northerly side from St. Louis Avenue to Eastern Point Boulevard.
With no
And that-
restrictions.
No,
Okay, all right,
it doesn't say resident or non-resident. It just says parking is allowed. That's what they adopted in 1974.
And very quickly to Chief Conley, thank you for hanging in there. In your experience, do you have any experience with problems with emergency vehicles getting down Farringdon during the summertime?
Not in terms of the police department, no. I'm unaware of any complaints. I'm sure we would have heard about it coming from the fire department.
Very good, thank you.
Any further questions for anyone that hasn't spoken? I have a question for Chief Conley. Would you just elaborate if you're aware of any accidents or traffic violations in that section over the past few years since you've been chief of our police department?
So I'll actually, Madam President, I'll go 2 years further. As you know from earlier comments, that Lieutenant Mike Williams represents the police department on the traffic commission, and we pulled data for 5 years from that area, and there have been 3 accidents in the last 5 years. 2 of the accidents, one accident was a medical emergency by a single operator who lost consciousness and collided with another vehicle, I believe. The other accident was someone who lost control of the vehicle, single accident, hit some hedges, suspected that they were impaired, but they fled the scene. And the last accident was very, very minor, and it involved a car scraping up against another car that was parked. We're unaware of any injuries. I know there was some comments earlier from Mr. Coakley regarding a bicyclist. That I'm not denying that happened. It just that wouldn't be captured in our traffic accident data. I'm unaware of any other major incidents. We certainly ask for people who've worked at the Gloucester Police Department for a very long time to comment and share with us what their thoughts on any types of specific incidents came to mind, and there were no additional comments.
Thank you, Chief. Any other questions? So we'll go back to Council up. I'll pick Jason Grow this time because I chose Jeff last time over you.
That's right. Absolutely correct.
A little competitive
Chief,
here. Huh?
Chief, just two quick questions. One, how frequently do the police patrol that area during the summer? And this is more a question, I guess, for the DPW. Can we mark out no parking zones at the corners, because there is already, you can't park on the corners of intersections. Can we paint or otherwise mark those intersections a little bit more clearly so that if there are cars parked there, that they can be ticketed or towed if necessary for the neighbors? Anybody want to grab that?
So, Council, I can answer from the police standpoint regarding your question. We have a sector car that monitors that area routinely, and in the summertime, we have parking enforcement. And Julie Bro, that I see her over there an awful lot all summer long, as I keep my boat out at the end of Eastern Point and in that area, hopefully every day in the summer, but practically at least every weekend in the summer. I'm over there, and she's, every time I go by, she's there checking resident parking stickers and writing tags. So quite often, particularly in the summer.
Thank you, Chief. Council Worthley.
No, it was actually Council Margiotto who had his hand up this time.
Council Margiotto.
Yes, 2 questions. What is the speed limit for that area? And from those who want the no traffic there, could we put up a speed radar to measure the speed? Usually when you see one of those things, you have a tendency to slow down as you always try to go under the speed limit.
So, Council, excellent question, and I'm glad you threw it to me. It's almost like we talked beforehand, which we did not. But we actually did have a speed trailer out there during, I forget the month, in 2020, and then we did it again last year. I'm sure we'll do it again this year. The speed studies I'm happy to share with the councilors. I know somebody put in a public records request and I shared that information. I believe, Joanne can tell you exactly, it came to her office when we did that. But those speed trailers, they do capture all that data. I can tell you the speed limit is 25 miles an hour in Farrington. The median speed, I believe, at least for the 2021, I'm doing this all off memory, was about 28. I think one direction was 28 miles an hour and the other direction was 30. So slightly above the speed limit, but that's for data that's being captured all day long. I'm happy to share the very compelling 216-page speed data report. I won't tell you how it ends, but I would also say that this data that we collect is not what the state would accept for a so-called speed study, that they would have a traffic engineer come out. This is just an ancillary thing that these machines do as they're trying to slow vehicles down along that roadway.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Councilor Nolan.
Just to answer Councilor Grow, any councilor can put a request into the DPW through the mayor's office to add a sign for no parking here to corner. We do have a standard footage that is allowed, so that's fairly simple. As far as the other regulations, we are looking into all of our regular parking and beach zone ordinances coming up.
To be clear, I'm not asking for more signs, to be honest with you. We tend to sign things out. I've got 4 no parking on corner signs intersection away. We don't need more. There is regulations that monitor how close you can park to an intersection. And if we make that clear, we make tickets on those particular corners, keep them clear for the residents. I understand their concerns, but I agree with you. I'm not a big fan of more signs, but I thank you. That's right.
And I believe it's 20 feet from an intersection.
I don't know.
I believe that's correct, Chief.
I got the thumbs up from Bob, but that's 20 feet.
Wow.
I was secretly hoping no one would ask me this question because I'm not going to take grief on social media if I get the answer wrong. I have to look at a ticket book, and to be honest with you, it's been a while since I've looked at the parking ticket book. But it is 10 to 20 feet. It's something around
It's
that.
20 feet.
20 feet.
And 10 from a hydrant.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Jill Cahill, go ahead.
I just wanted to answer Councilor Grow also that obviously what you're really getting at is the enforcement of the parking from the corner, right, so I mean, that's something that we can work with parking enforcement on, but also having worked closely with the treasurer's office, if there's not a sign within a certain distance of where the ticket is written, they cannot enforce the ticket either. So unfortunately, if you would like us to be able to write tickets and enforce that ticket, we're gonna have to put up a sign.
You can't just stick Julie on them, huh? Okay.
No, we can't. So they come hand in hand, but we're happy to work with you on that and the residents as well. If obviously we hear the residents who are having trouble getting out of their driveways, we hear that around all of our beaches. So if there's a way that we can work with you to do that, we will. We're happy to work through that with you guys. And we are working on a lot of enforcement and parking issues with the chief at the moment anyway.
Great, thank you, Jill. So councilors, without objection, I'd like to allow Pamela Steele to speak. She raised her hand about 30 seconds after we went to communication. So Pam Steele, Joanne, would you let her in? And if you just introduce yourself and your address, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak to us. Thank you.
I'll be very brief. Pam Steele, 10 Pilots Hill. I'd just like to go on record as opposing any change in the parking because I see it as a mental health issue. People go to the beach for restorative reasons, and it's very important for residents and non-residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. So at this point, without any further questions, seeing none, I'd like to close the public hearing and ask for the committee report from Councilor Nolan. Councilor, you're on mute.
On a motion by Councilor O'Hara, seconded by Councilor Majota, the Ordinance Administration Committee voted 0 in favor, 3 opposed, to recommend the City Council amend GCO Chapter 22, Section 22-270, parking prohibited at all times, in Section 22-291, tollway zones by adding Farrington Avenue northerly side from its intersection with Eastern Point Boulevard in an easterly direction to its intersection with St. Louis Avenue. Nice move.
Second.
Okay, we have Counselor Nolan has moved it and Counselor O'Hara has seconded it. So I'd like to have discussion, and in fairness to Counselor Memard, who's the ward counselor, I thought that we should start with the person that put the order in. So Counselor Memard, let's start with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry that the community has to rehash these issues over the years, and but I think it's good to refresh our current status. And I think the popularity of Niles, which is a lovely beach, we're very, very fortunate to have it and enjoy it and to be able to share it. I proposed this in specific response to concerns by my constituents who are neighborhood abutters who experience the challenges and see the risk of possible damage and harm from excessive parking on that road. So I'm glad that we're having this discussion. A number of them have weighed in who didn't speak this evening, who spoke at the Traffic Commission. There were 7 or 8 at the Traffic Commission meeting. I've received letters from a number of them, and we've shared that with the council. It's clearly an asset that the general public throughout Gloucester cherishes and appreciates and wants access to. And the balancing challenge is just to provide that access without really infringing on the public safety or the rights of people who happen to live in that neighborhood, which we've been very careful throughout the city to try and extend our enforcement so that people don't, the general public and visitors from out of town don't park in our front yards and block our driveways all through the beach neighborhood districts, which include Winkersheag and Good Harbor and this beach, Niles Beach. So I appreciate the dialogue, and I look forward to other questions or comments or discussion by the council before we go forward towards a vote.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselors who would like to discuss this? I will call on Counselor Grow. You are muted.
Yes, I am. Again, the voices I hear. I just, I appreciate the neighbors' concerns. We do so much in the city, I think, at times to discourage people from coming here. And when we push off parking in one neighborhood, what we're really only doing is shoving it off to another neighborhood. When they initiated the more draconian penalties down near Nautilus and Beach Road, you just have people walking further afield. And it's not really resolving the problem with parking or parking inconvenience, because you're moving the inconvenience from one neighborhood to another neighborhood, and you're not actually solving the problem. A couple times Nautilus Road was mentioned tonight, and on my first go around on the council, I thought it'd be really great if we could make Nautilus Road resident parking only, since effectively a lot of people park there anyway. Immediately had my knuckles wrapped by Arlie Pett and his historic documents that the Bass Rocks Beach Club actually owns that stretch of the area and only allowed Gloucester to park there or to access it as a road in exchange for no parking there. So that's actually not a safety issue. It was an agreement that the city made with the Beach Club 100,000 years ago, so that parking wouldn't be allowed there. I'm not a big fan of denying our beauty of the beaches and our parks for anybody. I think that we have a tendency to want to say residents only, or we're the taxpayers, we're the only ones who get to enjoy it. But I also imagine when I go to other communities, how I feel when I'm not allowed to enjoy their neighborhoods and their beaches and their whatever. So I'm not in support of this. I don't think the safety issue is borne out. Of course, anytime something happens that causes an accident, we're open to having our fingers pointed at, and we told you so. But I think the truth of the matter is that while it may be congested a little bit, there is far less danger on a daily basis than is made out to be. So that's all I have to say on this.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Worthley.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Councilor Memhard, for introducing this. I have served both as an at-large council and as a ward councilor, and I understand the challenges of trying to mitigate issues and having people on both sides who are in your constituency. So I give you credit for balancing that, or trying to balance that. If we follow the recommendation of the O&A committee, I think we also throw the baby out with the bathwater, because there were a couple of recommendations made today about a drop-off zone, which might make sense to have for 2-minute parking only or something like that. Councilor Grow talking about maybe doing something with the signage and or painting the ground, the cement to make sure there's no parking close to the neighbors' entrances to the driveways or the intersections. And my comment is part question: is there value, and sort of third time's a charm, in sending this back one more time to see, not to say we're all for or against it, but to include some of these ideas in something that kind of makes it a more perfect ordinance change. And so I sorry that I didn't think of that as a question earlier, Madam Chair, but I'd like to give the ward council the benefit of the doubt if he sees value in some of these things coming in under the same public hearing, or maybe introducing them as separate ideas later.
So let me continue with the next person that had their hand raised. Councilor Majota, would you discuss this with us?
No, I don't know if I have a hand raised, but I love Niles Beach. I use Niles Beach. It's a great beach. I'm trying to make people not call it a mother's beach, maybe a parent beach. That would be good. It is 2022, I feel like, but other than that, I think it's one of those things where if we restrict this particular area, then we're going to see a domino effect potentially going on to other streets and things, and then no other people who come in to visit Gloucester will be able to access to beaches. And we are a tourist town, and it's a beautiful city, and I love the fact that other people come and visit, and I love showing off the beaches to my friends who come. So that's it.
Great. Councilor Nolan.
I won't be supporting this tonight as written as well. And also for comment on bringing it back to O&A for enforcement on signage or the 20 feet between the roads. That's already an ordinance at play. We could bring up in another study a drop-off point that would be totally separate from this actual ordinance or this public hearing for something like that. Because I think a drop-off point could be done through the municipality and through the administration without a public hearing, so we're not closing access to something. And the signage, again, unfortunately, we do have to assign things for the police to be able to enforce the tickets. But I think that it's been well publicized and people have spoken their mind, and I think that we should move on with this for a vote.
Thank you. Any other questions before I speak? Or actually, we're not at questions, we're at discussion. Councilor O'Neill.
Yes, hi. I would just like to say that I am opposed to this as well as it's written. I've ridden my bike past that beach many, many times without a problem. And with all the residents that spoke tonight, I think we should really listen to them. And regarding, there was a mention of that by removing parking, it would only take away 6 to 8 cars. And I calculated between 25 and 30 cars. So it's far more than 6 or 8 cars that would be removed if you remove the parking. So I will not be supporting this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Gross.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I was just looking at other resident-only streets, and I don't know if people are aware, but Edgemore Road is also a resident-only street up there from May to September. So I didn't, cars will be pushed up even more narrow street if this is closed off. You know, we,
Council, you're frozen again.
I think we need more cell towers in Annisquam.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I think.
Oh, yeah.
Council Gross, continue. You froze again, but now you're not frozen, so go
I
ahead.
gotta write the time down so I can yell at Comcast. So anyway, this is very infuriating. I don't know where I lost you, but I was about done anyway, so. But I just wanted to.
Well
point
said.
out- Okay,
It's been a long night.
all right, bye.
Anyone else like to speak before I just have a brief comment? Okay, so
Madam President, Mr. O'Hara.
I just saw Councilor O'Hara. Thank you, Councilor Machota. Go ahead, Councilor O'Hara.
Sure, thank you. As I mentioned in O&A, Gloucester's a city that welcomes our visitors. And I think it's fair to say that there isn't an area of Gloucester that is not impacted by visitors coming into our city. As I said at O&A, I believe we not saying that there aren't safety issues, because when these visitors come into Gloucester, no matter where they are, there are safety issues. Downtown Prospect Street in front of Lady of Good Voyage is a prime example of a safety issue, and we managed to live with it. I think we need to accept that we're going to have visitors, and for the 3 months that they come in to enjoy our city, we get to enjoy it for an additional 9 months. I will not, as in O&A, will not be supporting this, and I will not support this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, councilors. I'm looking closely. Okay, so I will not be supporting this either. Although I appreciate the reasons why Councilor Memard looked into this, which was safety reasons, and there were certainly videos that we saw that things seemed pretty tight up there. It doesn't negate the love that so many people in the community have about the use of that beach. And to Councilor Majoto's opinion here, that I think, you know, it's not just a mother's beach, it's a father's beach too, because I absolutely know that he probably is going to get taking his 3 children there this summer. And I'll remember that it is not a mother's beach anymore. It's either father or mother. So, but you know, I just think that the democratic process has been heard. I think it's been a really good opportunity to hear from so many people in the community about their passion and how important it is. And for that reason, I will not be supporting this. Okay, I think we're ready to do a roll call vote. So, getting back to my list. And now remember that I'm Val Gilman. Councilor Majota.
No.
Councilor Memard.
Present.
Councilor Nolan.
Sorry.
No.
Councilor Nolan, I didn't hear you.
No.
Councilor O'Hara.
No.
Councilor O'Neill.
No.
Councilor Worthley.
No.
Councilor Gilman. No. Councilor Gross.
No.
Councilor Grow.
No.
We have 8 noes and 1 present. Thank you. And thank you, Chief Conley, for staying, and Bob Ryan for your service in the Traffic Commission, and for Jill, your participation. It's very much appreciated. So, and thank you for the 40 attendees that have stuck with us for a long night. So much appreciated. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Next order of business is request to the mayor.
And consistent with our new protocol for this new council, we'd like to start the request with Councilor Majota.
A few requests that I will be putting in probably tomorrow, is more to Traffic Commission about crosswalks and speed limit signs. Just trying to get the correct information and the wording and to be able to submit that to the mayor and to the Traffic Commission as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you have a couple of days to put those in for the end of the week as well. So
Okay.
do those at any time this week. Thank you. Council Memard.
I'm still working on a priority list of concerns to the mayor's office. I have not submitted that as yet. However, I would like to bring forward one request that I've brought up with the previous administration. It's a good counterbalance to the discussion we just had. And one of the members who discussed their recollections of family pleasure at Niles referred to the swim float that used to be there, the orange swim float, where many East Gloucester residents learned to swim with the swim instructor that was available. And I would like to make a request through the mayor's office to follow up on the request that I made several years ago and was nixed, but I did have great support from TJ Shimataro, our harbor master, the high school building group who could help construct a safe float, and all the other elements that would help allow us to expand access to that beach and the public's enjoyment there. So I would like to make that request to the mayor for Niles Beach to bring back the swimming float.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Nolan.
I have no request tonight. I just want to give a big shout out to the administration and the DPW and the way they handled the storm the past 2 weekends. I thought the response with the phones being answered real time was an excellent change. The men and women working the streets worked tireless through a very blinding snowstorm. And then to be followed up with the next week, which is this past weekend, with a very icy situation that's hard to control and manage. And I thought all in all, there's an A+ out there for the DPW and the administration. And I want to thank them for taking care of our city.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor O'Hara.
I want to support Councilor Nolan, what he just said, and just add on what Councilor Memhard, that possibly we get that float off of Niles, that we call it the Bernie Pratt float. Because I think many of us learned to swim from Bernie Pratt. And one additional regarding the snow, let's not forget, obviously, good amount of it has melted, but we have the sidewalk issue that I think we're focused on, and the administration will appreciate your continued support at resolving that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor O'Neill.
Yes, thank you. I don't have any requests for the mayor, but I would like to thank Mr. Ryan, Bob Ryan, for staying here all night and for your expertise. If anyone knows about parking and traffic and signage, it's you. So I really appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Worthley.
Thank you. I just have a couple. I'd like to echo the comments about the DPW. Thank you, administration, for canceling school early. My kids were elated with that. And overall, good job, and specifically Mike Hale. We were in correspondence a number of times. There's a question raised early in the meeting, and I think that oral communications effectively works like a request to the mayor's office, but there's a question about water capacity as it relates to the zoning changes. I'd like to get that as a formal request to either confirm or eliminate that as a concern. And also water pressure, if there's a way to get that answered either through DPW or the fire department, I think that would help clarify a lot of things. I'd like to request sidewalks on Farrington Ave. I don't know if we can just do that through the request of the mayor, and certainly collaborating with the ward councilor Memhard. I don't want to step on your toes, but I think we should look at elevated crosswalks, signage that says state law, pedestrians in crosswalk have right away, and potentially speed reduction. So I don't know if that's too much to throw in as one simple request, but we learned a lot tonight, I think, from that. There's a pothole on Gloucester Ave I'd like to draw attention to. I'll get specific on in front of the address, get the specific address. And that's it. Thank you for running a good meeting, Council President.
Yeah. So I just wanted to comment that Council Memard has already made a request to Public Works in the city for the sidewalk. So that's, you wouldn't know that as a new counselor. So that's in the queue. So hopefully we'll keep our
I should
fingers
make sure
crossed.
this administration knows that too, if it was from
Right.
before. So,
Thank you.
okay.
So Councilor Gross.
Yes, yep, I'd like to echo both Councilor Nolan and Councilor O'Hara's remarks about the snow removal. It was a very difficult, the first storm was extremely difficult. You know, people were concerned because it wound up, the roads just became very narrow because you just couldn't keep ahead of it. And I think they did a really good job to keep everything moving, going along, and the citizens need to be a little patient. Can you hear me? We're all frozen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
And thank you, Mr. O'Hara, for bringing back those memories of Bernie Pratt and that ice cold water at Niles Beach to go for your swim lessons. They were a great thing that love to see that reinstituted, but that was a wonderful thing that happened when we were kids. So I don't know about the float. I know there's a little eelgrass issue there, but I think see if we can work around that, and that would be a great thing to have out there. I would love to see that happen. So that's it.
Great, thank you. Councilor Grow.
Couple of things. Thank you. Am I unmuted? There we go. The first one is that I would like to request that the council join up with the planning board for a joint meeting at which we would request the administration provide an update on the TOD legislation and where we are in terms of that process. I would appreciate if we could do this with enough advance time that if the council decides to, as a body, render any public comment, that we would be able to do this before the end of March 31st, which is the deadline for public comment. You know, we're not asking for all the answers. We would just like to have enough of an overview and an update on the position that the state is taking and what that impact as we know it now. I think I want to say for clarity's sake that the end of March is the end of public comment. May 2nd is the deadline for the city to have a meeting on this issue. It is not an implementation date. Implementation would not take effect until the end of December 2024. So we're not in a hurry for the overall implementation, but we are for the public comment. So we'd like to do that. And I've talked to Rick Noonan, the chair of the planning board, and he's open to a joint meeting. So we'll figure out when we can schedule that, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. The second thing is I would like to thank the mayor for living up to his pledge to work with the Cape Ann Surfers Union and come up with approve the recommendations for the enhanced access for the surfing community. I'm really confident that this is a good move, and I think that the surfing community is very anxious to prove that they're going to be good stewards of the regulations and be responsive to the needs of the community. But I think this is a good thing, and I really appreciate Mayor Verga jumping on this so early on in his administration. And then finally, right, Scott's been working with them for a couple of years now, so I think it's great that this has finally come to fruition. And finally, Ms. Cahill, I'm on bended knee begging you, the first moment that we could have a little hot patch on Brightside Avenue, just a wee bit, maybe some ground up tires, I don't know, old cars shoved in the holes, anything to smooth that little patch of potholes would be so gratefully received. That's it for me.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor O'Neill.
Yes, I do have a request for the mayor, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
A constituent called me and said that they cleared the sidewalks on Main Street and they plowed Main Street, but there was a snowbank in front of Bravo Pizza right on the crosswalk. So it's on the crosswalk. I went down there with a shovel last night. I figured I'd just get rid of it, but it's frozen solid. So I don't know what the status of it is today.
If someone could check that out.
Okay.
That's
I know-
it. Yeah.
I know Jill is still on the call, and I'm sure she's taking down notes.
Yeah. So sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just have a couple of very brief things. First of all, we did approve the Fiesta and P&D. And even though it's really wasn't on our committee report, because we don't really need to report to that, because we approved that street closure in P&D without bringing it to the council, just to let everybody know that the Fiesta was approved from Council Grow, confirmed that I'm correct. It's June 22nd to the 26th, correct?
That's correct.
Great, so that's awesome. The other thing I wanted to mention is that there's a free cabaret night in Annisquam on Thursday night. It's Zoom, and it's for the Annisquam Village players. So if anyone's interested in Zooming in, it's free, and it will feature a lot of our stars from our Annisquam Village players. So you'll see a lot of common faces, and we'd love for you just to look on the website. If you want to Zoom in, please do. We welcome members of the community to join the Annisquam Village players. And other than that, I just, again, I want to just thank our CAO, Jill Cahill, and Greg Verga for continuing to work closely with us on so many issues. And just a point of something that happened, just to give you some specific information about how good it feels to be working so well together, is that Mayor Verga called me on Saturday and he said, hey, Val, we really need to get one-stop shopping on all of the zoning materials. And I'm like, absolutely. And we've been working on it, and every meeting that we've had with our ward meetings, we've put more information on our standing committee website. But then Greg added, he said, we've got to get the Zoom calls up there too, the Zoom recordings of the ward meetings. And absolutely, we were trying to figure out where they should go. And within a day, Ryan's worked it all out, and we've made great progress. So it's that type of constituent services that feels really good. And I'm proud to be working on this council with the administration. So thank you. So I think that's it. We've had a long night. Thank you for bearing with us all. And without further ado, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Council Grow, second.
Second.
Council Worthley. Let's do a roll call. Council Majota.
Yes.
Council Memard.
Yes, and good night.
Council Nolan.
Yes, and good night.
Council O'Hara.
Yes.
Council O'Neill.
Yes.
Council Worthley.
Yes, and thank you.
Council Gilman. Yes. Council Gross.
Yes.
Council Grow.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Yes, have it. Good night,
Good
everybody.
night.
Good night.
Good night.